Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. First on The Fan, the NFL playoffs continue this weekend with the divisional round tomorrow. 1:30 kick on ABC and ESPN. The Chiefs are 8.5 point favorites hosting the Texans at 5 o'clock on Fox. The Commanders roll into Detroit as 8.5 point dogs against the Lions. And on Sunday at noon on NBC and Peacock, you've got the Eagles 6 point favorites hosting the Rams. And the NFL weekend wraps up at 3:30 on Sunday afternoon. CBS and Paramount Plus, the Bills 1.5 point home underdogs to the Ravens. Fox Sports' Jordan Schultz reports Texans running back Joe Mixon and linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair are expected to play tomorrow versus the Chiefs. And after the end of the long playoff weekend, Monday night, the college football playoff national championship game from Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Number 8 Ohio State, number 7 Notre Dame for all the marbles. 4:30 kick on ESPN. The Buckeyes are 8.5 point favorites. The Blazers are off today after getting throttled by the Clippers last night. They host the Rockets tomorrow. Donovan Clingan, Matisse Thybulle both out. Denny Avdia, Jeremy Grant are game time decisions. The Blazers are 13-27. That's the 6th worst record in the league. And 76ers center Joel Embiid, he'll miss at least 7 to 10 days after an increase in swelling in his left knee following a Thursday workout. He has missed the last 6 games with a left foot sprain and has played in just 13 games this season. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Fan is live on YouTube and Twitch. And now, Window Nation brings you on-demand videos. Watch Window Nation's window into 1080 The Fan. It's time for a noon kick.
Let's go, babe. Come on, let's have some fun, man.
This is Danny and Dusty on Football Friday.
You gotta see it! You gotta see it!
Brought to you by the Odyssey app. Download the Odyssey app, follow 1080 The Fan, and enable push notifications to get the latest on the Ducks, Beavers, Blazers, and more.
Danny and Dusty on Odyssey and 1080 The Fan.
Good afternoon! Wow. Happy Friday. How's everybody doing today?
I mean, it's Friday. It's Football Friday.
Hell yeah.
Not many of these left.
We've got a football so hard today because we do not have a show on Monday.
Which means we get to talk NFL and college.
We've got 4 NFL games. We got a Saturday doubleheader, and that is okay to say for Jeff Rust.
Yes, because it's one following the other.
1:30, the Houston Texans head to Kansas City, frigid Kansas City, Missouri, for the Chiefs. Saturday evening, we've got the Washington Commanders heading to Detroit to take on the Motor City Kitties, the Detroit Lions. And then Sunday, a nooner, Rams, Eagles.
An afternoon delight, even.
3:30, the Baltimore Ravens head to Buffalo.
Why is it I feel like they usually only did the noon and 3:30 games for the championship weekend, the conference championships? I don't remember them doing it in the divisional round before.
Good question. Don't know.
Yeah.
Good question. I don't know the answer to. I wish I had the answer to that because that does sound right. Because there was always this, oh, man, we got to wait till noon instead of having like 10 a.m. kickoffs. Right? And now we have 1:30 and 5 and noon and 3:30, which I understand it. I appreciate it. I like it. You can get your stuff done in the day and then boom, you're off. You know, that noon kick on the West Coast time zones, we don't do time zones well. Noon is when we kick games off on the East Coast over there. Like big noon kick.
Yeah.
That's 9 a.m. out here.
Yeah.
You can think of all the things that you can get done in your day. If you're like, football doesn't start till noon, I could do that.
But when it starts at 9 in the morning.
Yeah. You got you're at kids soccer, you're doing all that stuff, and you're having to keep track of all these games. We get to live that life this weekend. But I still contend West Coast, Best Coast for sports viewing.
Absolutely.
Oh, it is. After doing a TV show at 2 o'clock in the morning in Washington, D.C., yes. Yes. Unequivocally, yes. My God, I can't fathom trying to watch West Coast sports living on the East Coast. That is hellacious.
That's why you have the East Coast bias towards the West Coast teams.
I mean, it's disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like 10:30 tips.
Yeah.
which actually means like 10:50 tips.
Well, that's like the CFP National Championship game. That's on Monday, and we'll get to that today because we won't have a show on Monday to preview it. That's 7:30 kick East Coast time, and that's like, that's where people lose me with late kick times, complaining about getting to games and getting home from games. If you have a 7:30 kick out here, it's actually starting a half hour later than what East Coast calls the primetime kick, or earlier than what East Coast calls the primetime kick. 5 o'clock West Coast time is that primetime kick. That's 8 o'clock on the East Coast. And they're like, well, they don't have to drive as far. Yes, they do. Like, people that are University of Tennessee fans are driving from Nashville to Knoxville across the state of Tennessee.
Yeah.
They fill up 100,000 seats in Bryant-Denny Stadium, or 92 or whatever it is, in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. There's barely 92,000 people living in Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
In Alabama.
I mean, they are driving, folks. So that's where people lose me on that. If you have the legitimate gripe, it is that it's too late for East Coast people to appreciate what West Coast football is. And I'm glad that the Big Ten and the SEC, well, the Big Ten and the Big 12, they kind of learned that lesson. The SEC didn't, because Texas went from Central Time over there, but they have teams in Central Time already.
More populated state, Oregon or Alabama?
Ooh.
It's super.
Oregon?
It's super close.
Oregon?
Alabama.
Yeah, by a little bit.
By a couple 100,000.
Couple 100,000?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 3.5 milli. What's the biggest city? Birmingham?
Bama's 5 million
5 million?
total. Yeah.
We almost got 5 million people here?
Oregon, 4.433.
Are you serious, Clark?
Yeah.
I had no idea about that. I had no idea how big this state was now. Who knew?
I mean, it's. I want to say the metro area is at like 1.2 now. And then the rest is. Meh.
Okay.
So.
All right. What's the biggest city?
In Oregon or
Alabama.
Alabama?
Yeah.
I don't-
Birmingham has
Birmingham?
196,000. That's crazy. Montgomery, maybe?
Huntsville. Oh, that's by. Well, Huntsville is actually 225,000.
Hey, look at that.
In Alabama by population.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, Huntsville.
Huntsville is number one?
Yeah, quarter mil.
All right.
They got a bunch of those quarter milli cities. I bet you, like 150 to 200.
Sure. We just got Portland.
I think Portland proper is like 800,000.
Portland, Salem, Eugene.
Beaverton, Hillsborough are actually
Metro
huge,
area is
huge
just
cities
massive.
now.
Yeah. Metro is just massive. All right. Metro's like 2.5 million now.
Is it
Wow.
really?
That's
Good
what it. Well, the
God.
text line said it, so I'm going to believe it. I'm going to go ahead and that's like my Wikipedia. I'll just go ahead and say that's true.
They are almost exactly right. 2024 Vancouver, Hillsborough metro area. Portland, Vancouver, Hillsborough. 2.508.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yep.
That makes sense. It's a growing area, but our freeways haven't grown with it, so we got that.
Well, the Wikipedia says the 2022 population estimate for the area, including Portland, Vancouver, Hillsborough. I guess they're including Salem in there too.
Yeah, it goes a little bit further. That one's like
Maybe
3.8 or
3.2.
3.2. Yeah.
3.28. Yeah.
Hot damn. Look at that. That's hot population talk.
Yeah, but it is kind of crazy to think about because I remember moving to Beaverton. And it was like I want to say it was like under 20,000 when I moved there. Now I think it's like 130.
It's a little over 100.
Yeah. That's
I think Hillsborough's got it beat though still.
Yeah, but it's crazy to think about like the growth of places.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
people move here. It's crazy. People not moving away. It's nuts. It's absolutely wild to think
problematic.
about.
Problematic.
I just can't believe it.
Finders keepers.
Yeah, that's right. All right. That was a weird pivot that
It
we
was.
made,
But you know what?
Here we are.
Immediately, people are like, eh. Also, you had a wild upset in college basketball last night.
Oh, you mean this one?
His catch and shoot three. That's no good. Chased in the corner by Huff. 3 seconds, 2 seconds out to Hickman for a three. It's no good. And the Beavers have defeated Gonzaga in overtime. The final score, the Beavers 97, Gonzaga 89, and a sellout crowd, many of them beginning to stream onto the court. The Beavers, in one of the great wins in the modern era, take down mighty Gonzaga at home before the first sellout crowd in 5 years. The Beavers 97, Gonzaga 89, and let the celebration ensue, and it certainly is here at Grand Old Gill Coliseum.
You talking that game?
Yeah.
Is that the one that you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oregon State beating Gonzaga. Mike Parker on the call. Oregon State Radio Network. That was badass.
That was a massive upset.
Yeah, it was.
That like if the Beavers can stay above water with what they're doing this season, because they're actually having a relatively okay season.
Yeah.
This is the kind of win that could get you in a tournament.
I didn't know if you were talking that or Jason Swigard's Portland Pilots beating Pacific 84-81.
I didn't see that one.
It's over!
Yeah. Pilots now 1-5 in conference play.
Oh, yes. Oh, you're on the men's side. I thought you were talking about the women. The women are
women are good.
We're rolling through.
Women are good. Gonzaga now 14-5 on the season, 5-1 in conference play. So go Beavs. How about that? How about them Beavers? Oh, I don't want to say that. That was a Gary Anderson quote. I apologize for that. That may elicit some PTSD for Beef fans.
Yeah,
I don't
still
want to
too
do
soon.
that.
Yeah.
I don't want to
Again,
do
the
that.
Beavs are also at 14-5 and 4-2 in the West Coast Conference.
Let's go. The Tinkler. Let's go, Wayne Tinkle. How about them Beavs?
So, the likelihood of them, usually you get one team out of the West Coast Conference and then maybe a Pepperdine, a St. Mary's.
Well, St. Mary's now leading the way in the West Coast Conference.
So these are the kind of games where you get one of these. It's not just beating Gonzaga; it's beating a ranked team. Like
Yeah.
that's that quad 4
Boy,
or quad 1 win actually.
I mean, let's not count our chickens before they hatch here, because we've got another meeting with Gonzaga on the road, 2 still with St. Mary's. That's gonna be tough.
Oh yeah, no, it is. But I'm saying, like, if you put something together, these are the kind of wins
Let's go on a run.
that get you into a tournament.
Let's go on a
Especially
run.
when they expand the tournament to 7,000 teams.
I heard that that's not as much of a slam dunk as people are saying it is.
They're gonna grow it by 4. Like that's gonna happen. Now, do they get it to the what is it, 78 that they want to get to, or 78 or 82 was where they wanted to get
At least it's not the Jim Boeheim 96.
Yeah, that's too freaking much, man.
He just wanted the entire Big East in.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's whatever. But yeah, though they're gonna get 4 more. They're gonna get 4 more. Now, whether it stops there or not, I don't know. But
so that puts us to 72.
Which sounds better.
Yeah.
And 68 sounds weird.
Look, it's not as egregious as like if the college football playoff grows by 4, because there's 133 FBS teams. There's 300 college basketball teams.
13 Division I basketball teams.
That's
last I checked.
Crazy talk. And so, yeah, growing by 4, that's not that bad. That's not that bad. What we need to do is get rid of the NIT, CBI, CIT,
Oh, no, we've grown, ladies and gentlemen. We are up to 352.
Yeah, we need to get rid of the Uncrustables tournament
Good
that's
God.
happening. We need all of these things just to go away. Just give us the NCAA tournament. Make it, grow it. I don't care.
What do you got against Uncrustables?
I love Uncrustables, but we need to get rid of, like, if they have, like, an Uncrustables basketball tournament. We need to get rid of that. I'm here to tell you, we need to get rid of some bowl games, too, in college football.
Don't you touch my Pop-Tart
I was
bowl.
going to say, you leave that Pop-Tart bowl alone.
Pop-Tart Bowl stays.
Yeah.
Pop-Tart Bowl has grown enough to
It has
where
become
it's
its
like,
own thing.
You can't get rid of it.
Well, and that Tony the Tiger Bowl better stay too, because it's great.
Yeah, well, I would disagree. Having watched that game, it was far from great. It was bad foosball.
And any bowl game that takes place in El Paso has to stay.
Yeah. Well, now that Jaguars is closed, I don't know if it does need to stay. If you know, that the Sun Bowl, I think it does need to stay, as long as we bring Brute back as the title sponsor.
That's the thing, is we need to make the sponsors make sense again. Like, the Orange Bowl needs to be sponsored by something that's orange or citrusy. The Cotton Bowl needs to be sponsored by a clothing company. Like
Fruit of the Loom Cotton Bowl?
Yes. Yes.
Not Goodyear?
Yes. No.
Well, you're not driving your cotton tires around?
No. I'm sick and tired of it. I'm sick and tired of the sponsorships not making any sense.
Well, I mean, what do you do for the Rose Bowl? There's no big rose.
FTD.com.
FTD.
1-800-Flowers.
Yeah.
No, 1-800-Flowers Rose Bowl. Don't give me a
A
1-800 Rose Bowl
Bath
game.
and Body Works Rose Bowl, dog. You know, like Rose adjacent.
That sounds worse than the Prudential Rose Bowl.
No.
Prudential actually sounds like prestigious.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. What's the Holiday Bowl? Brought to you by Santa Claus?
Look, Home Depot can sponsor the Rose Bowl because you get your potting soil at Home Depot.
Okay. All right.
Like-
there we go.
Like we can just be adjacent.
All right. The Orange Bowl, Minute Maid,
Yes.
Tropicana.
I mean,
Tropicana Orange Bowl.
so many.
Yeah.
A grocery chain.
You
like
know what we're
something.
missing out here on that one? It's the Simply Orange Bowl.
Oh, that's
Oh,
right.
there you go.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. The pretentious douche Pinstripe Bowl
Mm.
played in Yankee Stadium.
Mm.
No.
The
Men's Warehouse Pinstripe
There you
Bowl.
go. See,
the mustaches are okay, but not beards. Pinstripe Bowl.
Yeah.
see, there's things you can work here. There's something for everyone.
All right. I'm in as long as I get to help name them.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm okay with this.
But
But yeah,
some like
the really weird ones, like they need to just go away. Like the Armed Forces Bowl is usually sponsored by like Lockheed Martin.
Lockheed Martin. That
Like,
makes sense.
yeah. Yeah,
That makes sense. Yeah.
billions of dollars. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, the City of Portland Chamber of Commerce. You could do the Rose Bowl title sponsorship.
Mm.
The City of Portland Rose Bowl played in Pasadena, California.
Come visit Portland.
Yeah. You're gonna move here eventually, California.
That's not really terribly
Your
different than
housing
the Los
prices are too
Angeles-
expensive.
That's not really terribly different than the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, right?
Yeah.
Just a little bit more geography in between.
Yeah, the City of Portland Rose Bowl of Pasadena. I like that text. Vancouver Ford text line 503-864-6326. That is the Vancouver Ford text line. This text, why would you get rid of more games? It's just more content. If you're not interested, don't watch. Would rather have a choice to watch or not. My only problem with the amount of bowl games we have now is we have 5 and 7 teams in bowl games.
Yeah, when you have to start making waivers, like we were at Army Navy when Army's opponent dissolved for their bowl game,
Mhm.
and they were
Marshall.
and it was like and they ended up going with Louisiana Tech.
Yeah, because they were in the Liberty Bowl
Yeah.
in
Was
well,
it Baton Rouge or was it Shreveport or
Shreveport, but
yeah.
Ruston is not too far from there,
Yeah.
so they didn't have to travel.
But they were 5 and 7 and
Yeah.
a bad team.
Yeah, I am for bad bowl games. Just make at least be 500.
If we're making waivers, that's a problem.
At least 500.
Yeah.
Now that we have multiple 5 and 7 teams in.
That's the thing is like you need to get rid of probably 6 bowl games
Mm.
just to trim the fat.
Yeah. I think that what you should do is if you're going to give a waiver, so like Marshall, they were out of the bowl game because they didn't have enough players.
23 players
You just add the remaining players from the Marshall team to
to the other team.
to
Ooh.
Louisiana Tech, and Louisiana Tech has to wear the Marshall uniforms in the game.
Okay. Now we're getting weird.
Yeah, now we're cosplaying as
Yeah.
actual decent football teams.
Mm. The all-star cast. I like this.
Yeah,
I like where this is going.
Yeah.
If you're like, hey, it's between 2 5 and 7 teams, you combine the 5 and 7 teams.
yeah. I mean, I think what we should do is we should have a transfer portal bowl where
Ooh, everybody
it's
just comes
like
together. It's like the Polynesian Bowl.
yeah, just like hey,
Ooh.
you're gonna enter the portal. You go ahead. We're gonna pitch you head to head. We're gonna play you at noon before the national championship
That
game.
could actually be kind of good.
No, it wouldn't. That'd be terrible.
I mean, it'd be terrible, but I mean, it'd be good in like the terrible sense.
you want to watch some AAU type football?
Yeah.
You want to watch some guys just saying, "I need to get mine."
Mm-hmm.
That's your transfer portal bowl right
you
there.
might. I mean, you might have some defensive players like racking up targeting calls.
Oh man! All right,
I'm in on this.
there we go. Okay, let's get this show on the road, shall we? What was that last night from the Portland Trailblazers? Danny and Dusty on the Fan. Portland Trailblazers fall last night to the Los Angeles Clippers, 118-89. Lethargic, uninspired basketball played by the hometown team.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah. Wasn't nearly as lethargic or uninspiring as the Nets rolled out the night before down in LA.
Ooh, doggy.
But my goodness, that was a Kawhi Leonard-less Clippers team that took it to the Portland Trailblazers.
Yeah, I mean the tank stink is out. It's out. The tank, the losing, the hey, everybody hold on as tight as you can. Like, we are 3 weeks away from the trade deadline. Guys are wondering where they're going to be, who they're going to be with. Do they need to move their families? What's going to happen this summer? Where am I going to be? Am I going to re-sign? Am I going to extend, restructure? Whatever is going on in their lives. And this is something that happens for every. And I'm not excusing this. This is the nastiness of the tank world. This is what happens. Everybody wants to be like, well, I want them to be like just good enough to be in every game, win a couple games that matter, don't really, but lose it. And it's like, no. When you tank,
in that game.
When you tank, and the stink of it goes, and it goes sideways because these people are human, and that's why the Brooklyn Nets lost by 50-9 the night before. That's why you look at the Jazz team that gets wins a great game one night, gets absolutely pummeled the next.
Yeah.
It's just when you're a bottom 5 team in the NBA right now in this world, this is what happens because it gets nasty.
That was, though, the discouraging part about the beginning of the year. We knew that this was going to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I was so harsh on that 40-point debacle to the Utah Jazz, a bottom feeder in the West, and a team that is not in it to win this year, and you lose by that much. And sure, those games have been fewer and further between, but I was so harsh on it because you knew that this time of the year was going to come, and the bottom was truly going to fall out. And the goal of this season is to have less of those blowouts, to develop young guys, and to lean on young players, right? And to Chauncey Billups' credit, we have seen growth by a lot of the young players. What we are seeing right now is how bad it gets when what you were just talking about was everything relating to a veteran player, not a young player.
No.
Moving your family. Am I going to sign an extension? Am I going to be here past the trade deadline? Those are all things that veteran players, that's when they check out. We've seen it with DeAndre Ayton.
Oh, God, yeah. And I think that's more unrelated than anything else.
Last night was better than it was against Brooklyn.
There was a concerted effort to get him involved, but
that was
wasn't.
only on a stat sheet.
Yeah.
It was better. You still, if you watch that game, you said, that ain't DeAndre Ayton playing right now. Anthony Simons.
Oh, it was maybe the worst game of his career as a starter. And it's not just Ant. It's up and down the roster. And this is
not just a one-off though for Ant though.
No, it's been the last couple games.
It's been the last 5 games. He is 29 of 77 from the field. He has scored 78 points on 77 shots in 5 games.
Yeah, and if you look at just the entire team in general, look at what they've done in the homestand, and look at as much as they like, hey, start Scoot. And it's like, this is not going to be a Ant's great, Scoot's bad thing. It's like Ant's been bad. Ant's been very bad, and he knows he's been very bad. But the other part of this is, do you think it's any coincidence that the Blazers' offense has been what it's been the last couple of games with Scoot Henderson starting?
No.
This, like, for all the people you say you, and again, I'm not laying this at the feet of Scoot. This is what you're going to go through, though, when you put him out on the floor and give him the extended minutes and you put the ball in his hands this much. You're going to go through the growing pains. You're going to go through Shaedon Sharpe not knowing how to play off of Scoot because the second Scoot gets off the ball, the defense is playing 5-on-4.
Well, and that has led to Toumani Camara has not been good either.
No, I mean, to be fair, teams are, when you put Scoot, Toumani, Donovan on the floor at the same time, your spacing disappears.
Yep.
It's not going to work. Honestly, I was surprised that when Denny was injured or has been, rolled his ankle, that they didn't start Chris.
Go Chris Murray instead. And
just kind of keep things relatively similar, so to speak. Because the second, number one, you're putting Scoot, Ant, and Shaedon out there. You're going with the small guards. You're moving Ant up to the 2. You're moving Shaedon up to the 3. And it's like, it's not that different, but the ask of them becomes different. And Scoot is a guy that has to have the ball. And if he has to have the ball, and Ant has to have the ball, and Shaedon has to have the ball, and as much as Scoot is a natural creator, defenses are playing off of Toumani. Like the Miami Heat game is the perfect example of this. 2 ended up with 21 shots in that game. It's because every time Scoot drove, they sunk down off of Toumani, knowing where the ball was going to go. And I ran the numbers on it. Scoot had 10 passes to Toumani in the game against the Heat in the half court, led to 8 shots because they're all wide open. Because the Heat schemed it up like, yeah, we're going to sink down. We're going to help off the strong side, which you never do, because we're going to dare Toumani Camara to beat us. Yeah. And he ended up going, 8 of 21, I believe, in that game. He hit 4 of 11 threes, but the shots at the rim and the pull-ups and stuff in between just didn't go. And you start having to deal with all of these other different things, like the natural changes and patterns and sacrifices that kind of come with integrating somebody else who already on a team that is lacking shooting. You're inputting less shooting.
Sure.
So,
yeah,
like I've heard some people like, I want to see the Scoot, Shea, 2, Denny, Donovan lineup. I'm like, I don't, not even for a second.
Why not?
Because that would be the worst shooting lineup in the NBA, hands down.
But isn't Denny kind of with his shooting and the development and growth that we saw last year kind of what we wanted to see?
Yeah, sure, but he's not treated that way. None of those guys are treated like Scoot could go 8 of 10 from 3 for the next 10 games. He would not be treated any differently.
Sure.
Because he's got 100 games of shooting basically 30% from 3.
Yeah.
And he's not a plus rim finisher. So they just kind of play in between on him and they pack the paint and they go, figure it out, dude.
Yeah.
And if Shaedon Sharpe is already struggling to deal with his handle, and that's
But I want to go back to the Denny thing really quick. Wasn't that kind of the part you liked about the acquisition of him, though, is that he is a shooter that isn't treated like a great shooter, and if you don't, he can make you pay for that?
Not necessarily. For him, it was that last year he trended up as a three-point shooter for the first time. He was incredibly effective from the corners.
Because he had volume.
Yes, and he was effective from the corners. This year, he's actually been effective above the break, and he's showing levels of growth because he was a guy who was not a shooter. He was a 30 to 32%.
Yep.
Now he's getting closer to 35, 36, and we're starting to see a little bit of normalization. I don't think Denny's ever going to be a plus shooter. That's not what I think he's going to be. But he's also another guy when you talk about, Scoot, Shea, Denny is at his best when he has the ball or working as a secondary creator in the middle of the floor. Well, if Scoot has the ball, where does Denny not have the ball? And then you'd worry about if Donovan Clingan's going to be like a hard roll guy, how does he get into the paint if everybody's sucked into the paint? It's just like one thing feeds into another, and now you're kind of crashing up against it. There was a text on here. I want to get to the idea of teams making trades and not making trades. Somebody asked, you said we should only get worried if other teams find a way to make trades, but Portland doesn't. The Suns just passed on Robert Williams from Nick Richards. Should we start getting worried? No, because Nick Richards is like the 10th, 11th man on a team, and the Suns had absolutely no assets to go get something. The difference between Robert Williams III and Nick Richards is a chasm.
On a contending team,
yes.
Where is Robert Williams III? Because I think he's probably 8th or 9th.
No, he's your first big man off the bench. That could be anywhere from 6th to 8th, but it's not because of talent. Like Nick Richards it's a talent. He's literally just a.
I think the bigger thing there is the asset. Well, the assets that Phoenix does not have to offer. If the Blazers would have sent Robert Williams to Phoenix, it would have been widely
Josh Okogie and a second-round pick for Robert Williams III.
That would have been absolutely.
If Joe made that deal, he should have been fired on the spot.
Yeah, and so that's a team that I'm not worried about that one. No. I'm worried about when actual players and actual assets get moved.
Yes,
that is a periphery move.
Yeah,
Phoenix knew exactly what they were doing.
They needed a warm body. Move. Like Yusuf Nurkic has been so bad. They're basically giving him DMPs at this point.
Yeah,
he's finishing. I think his 38% of his shots at the rim.
Oh.
And it's a 7-footer.
Oh my gosh, who could have seen that coming?
Yeah, it's a very tough place to be. But this is the stink of the tank and the trade deadline, and some decisions are going to need to be made one way or the other to kind of clear some things up.
Well, let's get to some of the texts on the Vancouver Ford text line 503-864-6326. Blazers fall to the Clippers. Look, losses aren't bad. Losses are not bad. but there is a little bit of concern that is arising in a variety of places surrounding this Blazers roster as the trade deadline does loom. Here's Rust with SportsCenter.
This is a Football Friday edition of Danny and Dusty.
Brought to you by the Odyssey app.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Crunch Fitness. Memberships as low as $9.99 per month. Find your Crunch time in Portland, Vancouver, and online at crunch.com. First on The Fan, the NFL playoffs continue this weekend with the divisional round. Tomorrow, 1:30 kick on ABC and ESPN. The Chiefs, 8.5-point favorites, hosting the Texans. Then at 5 o'clock on Fox, it's the Commanders rolling into Detroit as 8.5-point underdogs against the Lions. Then on Sunday at noon, NBC and Peacock, the Eagles 6-point favorites hosting the Rams. And the NFL weekend wraps up 3:30 on CBS and Paramount Plus with the Bills 1.5-point home underdogs to the Ravens. The long weekend ends Monday with the College Football Playoff National Championship game from Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Number 8 Ohio State, number 7 Notre Dame for all the marbles. 4:30 kick on ESPN. The Buckeyes are 8.5-point favorites. The Blazers are off today. They got throttled by the Clippers last night, hosting the Rockets tomorrow. Donovan Clingan, Matisse Thybulle are both out. Denny Avdia and Jeremy Grant are game-time decisions. The Blazers are 13-27, the 6th worst record in the league. And 76ers center Joel Embiid, he's going to miss at least 7 to 10 days after swelling in his left knee following a Thursday workout. He's missed the last 6 games with a left foot sprain and has played in just 13 games so far this season. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Tired of getting dinged by subscriptions? We won't send you a bill. Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
Last night's Blazers blowout loss to the Clippers may be a sign of things to come. In the first half of that game last night, there were just as many Blazers that were 0 for 4 or worse from the field than there were those that had more than 2 makes in the field from the field in the first half. Wrap your head around that. There were just as many guys who were 0 for 4 or worse than there were that had 2 makes from the field. 3 apiece.
Ew.
That's a bad game. That's a bad first half, and it didn't get much better in the second half, though it did get a little bit better. Some of your feedback on the Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326. After 3 years, shouldn't they be better? Yeah, one would think, but when thinking about this, you've said this quite often, is that this is truly year 2 of a tank, like full-on tank job. The other 2 seasons were injuries pulling the ripcord at the end of the year and making this thing just go absolutely sideways. But to that texter's point, this is careening down the path of the worst 4-year stretch in Blazers franchise history, outside of what, the first 4 years of the franchise's existence, which can only tell us that we're 3 years away from an NBA title.
And then
Isn't that right?
Yeah, the thing about this stuff is, and this is exactly what I said from the jump, you either go all in on Damian Lillard or you go full reset. And the credit I gave to the front office was picking a bleeping path.
They did.
Because for multiple years, they did not.
Mm-hmm.
And it was evident for the inability or lack of willingness to make moves during the prime era of Damian Lillard, even in the early era of Damian Lillard, that led to LaMarcus Aldridge's exit for nothing.
Yep.
Or getting the draft wrong in 2017, or offering huge extensions that turned into negative assets all the way through for 4+ years. You had the holding on of CJ McCollum. Like, you just go down the list. Like, we don't need to revisit every part of it, but like they chose the path, which was to go full reset. And a full reset in the NBA sucks.
It does.
It is miserable. I have been trying to tell everybody this for literally 2 years. It is going to be a path that you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel until you have that guy.
Yeah.
And whether it's, in last year's draft, great, you got Zachary Rieseshay as the number 1 overall pick. You think
He's
the
not
Hawks,
doing great.
I mean, none of those guys. Like, Alex Sarr was the guy that I had number 1 on my board, and he's starting to put some stuff together, but he's a defensive-minded guy who does a lot of other things. It's never going to be the cornerstone of your franchise. Over your shoulder right now, there's clips playing of Ja Morant and Victor Wembanyama, the number 2 pick and a number 1 pick. When you look at those guys, they're franchise corner. Like, if I ask you about the trajectory of the Memphis Grizzlies, where would you say they are right now? Are they on the way up?
They're on the way up.
The San Antonio Spurs.
On the way up. Yeah, on the way up. Yep.
When you get the guy, then it changes. There's no amount of years that says, yes, the San Antonio Spurs were in this crap for 5 years.
Yeah, I think the sting of it, though, is that you got the number 3 pick, and that was Scoot Henderson a year ago, and he has not elevated the trajectory of this franchise whatsoever. And sometimes that happens when you get the number 3 pick. There are guys that were drafted behind him that you have gone out and you've said several times, like, Thompson does not make as much sense.
No.
Amen Thompson does not make as much sense in Portland.
You're taking the biggest swing possible, and if you're looking at where they drafted Scoot, and you talk to 29 other general managers, they all take Scoot because he's the guy that you could be a top 3 guy on a team.
No. That hurts. That hurts your rebuild when the draft is not good. And that sucks. And there's always going to be the hindsight's 2020, right? And that is kind of I think one thing Blazer fans are sick of as well is like, yeah, we don't want to hear it again that, one guy didn't make sense because where we were as a franchise. We don't want to hear that we should have taken Kevin Durant over, or that Greg Oden was the right pick over Kevin Durant, even though at the time we all felt that, right? Mm-hmm. We don't want to hear
the revisionist
again
history stuff
that we drafted Sam Bowie over Michael Jordan.
It's not even
right?
It's not about where the franchise is. They took what they thought was the best player available. The one with the highest. It was actually the opposite of what they thought. It wasn't about fit. It wasn't about that. It was take the biggest swing at the player they thought would be the best.
Well, they have whiffed nearly 100 games into his career.
Yes.
I mean, there's no other way to
No,
put it.
I mean, you take a look at where Scoot sits right now through 100 games. He's somewhere between Emmanuel Mudiay and Sebastian Telfair.
Damn.
Like, that's not me just like saying that. The numbers bear it out.
But until you get the star, you don't have a spot.
No, he did.
Yeah.
None of this stuff. You're stuck in. There's two places in the NBA you can get stuck: at the very bottom and in the middle. It's a lot more fun, quote unquote, in the middle because you get to have some fun and you get to make the playoffs. But there's just a ceiling that you will never ever break.
Well, that was the Blazers.
Yes,
that was the Blazers before, and
And
now it's a different kind of suck now.
but now there's not a ceiling.
Yeah.
But there's also not a floor. It can just. For everybody's like, this is as bad as it could possibly be. No, it's not.
Now Washington.
Go watch the Washington Wizards play basketball. We're sitting with 3 scouts last night, and we were talking about just kind of where teams are at, and they were just like, I can't imagine being where that team is right now.
Yeah,
like they're orders of magnitude worse, and it's like there was a Blazers fan on the YouTube chat on the postgame show last night who was like, I'd rather be Charlotte. They have 2 stars to build around. Like, LaMelo Ball has been there for years, and what do they have to show for it?
Nothing. Well, Brandon Miller.
Well, I mean, again, but Brent, and again, as much as I like Miller, like where like are they really better off? You can like, oh, they have better assets. I'm like, do they?
Yeah, not really.
Because none of it's working.
Yeah, well, it's not working here either, and I think after this year, people are going to want to see that turn around. But last night was bad, especially because now what you're seeing, and you talked about this at the beginning of this, is that the veterans are starting to say, all right, what's my next move?
Mm-hmm.
That's the slipperyest slope. And we're not even halfway through the season.
No, and I think you're seeing it from more than just the veterans.
Yeah.
I think you're just seeing like when you look out there and you watch the game for the last 3 games, like the homestand. It's funky. It's funky. And I'm like, well, fire Chauncey. I'm like, no. The last thing you want to do right now is go, hey, you know what you should do in a season where things are starting to fall apart? Let's go to an interim head coach.
Well, yeah, what are you looking for? A spark to win games?
Yeah, it's like
I don't think that's the answer either.
Right now, again, a lot of times with the tank stuff, it's just plugging your nose and crawling through the tunnel.
All right. Well, we are in the S pipe right
Mm-hmm.
now. We're Andy Dufresne, and we're trying to get out that S pipe, and it's going to be a long crawl. All right.
Check back in. Was it May 22nd?
We got some
draft lottery?
logs to crawl over right now.
Look, was it May 22nd or May 23rd? On that day, a lot of things will be decided.
A lot of people may lose their mind too.
Yeah,
Good and bad.
Good and bad.
Good and bad. All right. Well, let's get to Football Friday, shall we? What sound does a goat make? We'll answer that for you next. I promise you, this is football related. Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
Oh, hi. It's a fun time because I think Dusty fell in the well, and we're gonna have to go send the search party out to go get him.
I think I see him
Is he sprinting
hauling
back?
arse this way.
All
yeah.
the way back?
All the way back.
There
There he is.
There he is.
Yeah, I'm having computer issues.
You are.
I had to on my old laptop there install the Windows 11. My internet is completely screwed up now. My Chrome, it is so jacked up. I have to log in like 800 different times. I hate technology.
It hates you.
Oh, so much. So much. So I was just talking with Engineer Joey on what the next fixes are going to be. So sorry.
Fixes.
Yeah, like
Air quotes.
throwing this thing into the Willamette. Don't know if that's a fix for it. Don't know if that's a fix for it or not.
I think the poo would help.
Probably. Probably would.
Grease it up a little
It
bit.
might work. It might work a little bit better. I promised that we were going to have goat talk, and I got goat talk for you. This comes to us courtesy of NFL Films. And the way that this video starts with a Baker Mayfield to Mike Evans touchdown, and the way it finishes between a conversation of Vita Vea, and I can't really make out who he's talking to. I think he's talking to Golston. But it does not end the way that I thought it would. And I'm going to tell you right now, I would just end the conversation with, yes, you're right, sir.
The ball was spotted at the 1-yard line. Is it caught? Yes. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Mike Evans. Fire the cannons.
Get a goat. Get a goat. Get the greatest buck of all time. Get the greatest buck of all time.
That's the sound goats make. Ah! They don't. That's a sheep.
No.
The goats say ah!
Bro, no.
Hey, y'all good? I need you to know. That's what goats do, bro.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do. A sheep say bad.
I own my own farm of goats, bro. How you gonna tell me?
Have you seen the new Thor movie?
And I think it was William Golston and Vita Vea. No, I have not.
Oh, there's a thing in there where they have he gets given a gift of goats, and they go, ah!
Yeah. Yeah, they more yell.
Yeah.
But I don't care. Have you seen Vita Vea?
What he says goes.
He could tell me that a goat says moo, and I'd be like, yeah, you're probably right.
I got my own farm of goats, bruh.
But then he just looks at like, I got my own farm of goats. How are you going to tell me what they sound like? He's like, no, they don't. So William Golston versus Vita Vea. Now, Golston is a very large human. He is 6'6", 281 pounds.
Lightweight.
Vita Vea.
What's he listed at?
6'4", 347.
Yeah, I think that's probably light.
That man.
And he moves like a deer.
He's Polynesian,
Yeah,
so
it's-
he's as strong as an ox and as quick as a goat.
Yeah. No, watching him play is just they were talking about him in the playoff game. Like, the Commanders should really go with tempo to make sure that he can't be on the if they see him go off the field.
Yep.
Go with
Hurry
tempo for like 3 plays because you can get 3 plays without him.
That man is such a disruptor to watch. I'm in awe of people like him because it's so different. Interior defensive lineman when Aaron Donald was a tactician and he was wickedly strong, but he would just if you tried to put a hand on him, he would just counter it and
Knife
it was
hands.
like, nope. Vita Vea is a man that he just takes other 300-pound men and tosses them to the side. I mean, he is very reminiscent of Haloti Ngata from the build,
Yes.
the sheer strength, the way that they just are disruptors where it's like a double team. Think of a double team in the NFL. That's over 600 pounds leaning on you. And
Some of the strongest humans on the planet.
he moves them backwards.
Regularly.
Just like 2 guys, nah, 1 arm for you, 1 arm for you, and both of you are going into your quarterback's lap. It's incredible.
The only other guy currently doing that is Chris Jones. They had his playoff pressures and double teams. I think he leads the league in the last 3 years, but he has also faced 3 times the number of double teams.
It seems impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the goal when you get double teamed is to just hold your ground.
Yeah, occupy 2.
Hold your ground. Don't get pushed back. Don't give up any ground. Allow a linebacker to make a play. Vita Vea is like, nah.
I'm going to beat this too and make him put a third, or I'm going to get a negative play in the backfield. Enjoy.
Golly.
Like when you really think about that, like, you see like, a player like that who has defensive numbers and you're like, oh, I mean, he only has like 5 sacks. And it's like, he's getting doubled every single snap.
Good point on the Vancouver Ford text line too. He did run a route last week, and I am very disappointed that play didn't work because they lined him up, and usually you bring in the defensive tackle, and he's just going to be a lead blocker, and he's going to mow some people over. He gave like a little hesitation, like, I'm going to get the outside linebacker, and then he released out into the flat, and they couldn't get him the ball. I love the fact, though, he walked over on the sideline. You could see him. He was like, I was going to one-hand it. I was going to moss him. I was just going to go up and just haul that in. If that ball would have come my way, he had the confidence that, I was going to make that happen. I need a 343-pounder with a one-hand touchdown catch. I need it in my life.
I want it in the open field to where you get a chance to get the truck stick.
Yeah.
I love
Run a fake punt a la Jordan Birch.
Get the thick six, but I want to see a defensive back make a life choice.
Yeah.
Do you make the play or do you end your season?
No, I think the move there is there's two courses of action if you're that DB. One, you make like a half-hearted, I'm just going to dive at his feet and hope maybe he trips over me.
Stumble him up, yeah.
Or I wait for him to run past me and I just jump on his back and try to punch the ball out.
Which actually works pretty effectively because they're not used to holding the ball.
Yeah, and if that doesn't work, then at least we're going to have like a master blaster touchdown where I am riding on his shoulders all the way to the end zone, and I'm just trying to punch that ball out any way possible. Those are the only two things that are a DB would ever do to a man that large running in the open field. Or you just kind of run up to him so he thinks he has to like juke, and maybe he just trips on his own feet.
Or you slow the momentum. Because when they do the juke, they're no longer doing the
and then you just try to push them
the
over.
the forward lean.
It's not going to happen, man. It's not going to happen. All right, let's get to the NFL playoffs. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will not be playing.
No, sadly,
this weekend. But
their opponent will.
Tomorrow, the Washington Commanders will be playing. They take on the Detroit Lions in the nightcap of our doubleheader of divisional round weekend. Let's start with the AFC #1 overall seed, the 2-time defending Super Bowl champions. That is Patrick Mahomes and those Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Houston Texans. It's going to be cold, and it's going to be a game where we're going to see just how good this Chiefs offense is as they get ready for a Super Bowl run and a three-peat. Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Jeff Rust with your Sports Center update. First on The Fan, the NFL playoffs continue this weekend with the divisional round. Tomorrow, 1:30 kick on ABC and ESPN. The Chiefs are 8.5-point favorites hosting the Texans. At 5 o'clock on Fox, the Commanders roll into Detroit as 8.5-point underdogs against the Lions. Then on Sunday, noon on NBC and Peacock, the Eagles 6-point favorites hosting the Rams. And the NFL weekend wraps up at 3:30 on CBS and Paramount Plus with the Bills 1.5-point home dogs to the Ravens. The long football weekend ends Monday evening with the College Football Playoff National Championship game from Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Number 8, Ohio State, and number 7, Notre Dame for all of the marbles. 4:30 kick on ESPN. The Buckeyes are 8.5-point favorites. The Blazers off today after getting whooped by the Clippers last night. They host the Rockets tomorrow. Donovan Clingan, Matisse Thybulle, both out. Denny Avdia and Jeremy Grant are game-time decisions. The Blazers are 13-27, the 6th worst record in the league. And 76ers center Joel Embiid will miss at least 7 to 10 days after swelling in his left knee following a Thursday workout. He's missed the last 6 games with a left foot sprain. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Jump back to earlier parts of your favorite fan shows on the Odyssey app. The only way to rewind Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. It's Football Friday on The Fan.
It's a man's game now.
This is a Football Friday edition of Danny and Dusty.
Brought to you by the Odyssey app. Download the Odyssey app, follow 1080 The Fan, and enable push notifications to get the latest on the Ducks, Beavers, Blazers, and more.
Football Friday with Danny and Dusty on 1080.
We have great expectations.
The Fan.
Hour number 2, Danny and Dusty with you on this Friday, a Football Friday. And we'll dive in now to our weekend of football. Divisional round weekend of the NFL postseason. The Houston Texans heading to Kansas City to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. And I feel like it's not getting enough attention. The fact that this Chiefs team, not just best record in the AFC in the NFL this season, we're not talking about the fact that this is really the start of the three-peat for them. This is where all of the expectations, and this is where the Kansas City Chiefs season starts, is right now. And it doesn't feel like there's that much buzz or appreciation for the fact that we have a three-peat that is on the line for the Kansas City Chiefs. And something that hasn't been done. Like, the three-peats, we've talked about how good some of these dynasties have been. We have not seen it in decades.
No, I mean, it's football is the hardest thing to keep things going with, just because of the forced nature. It's kind of funny. We talk about the lack of dynasties or in other sports as like, this is a problem. Then you look at the NFL where it's like explicitly prohibited to have dynasties.
Yeah.
Because the salary cap, the lack of guaranteed contracts, the nature of the beast with peaks and valleys in careers, and when guys peak and how fast they fall off, and how quickly things can change, and how after winning a Super Bowl you go get paid. Like that's all of these factors that all go into it. It's like, yeah, the Patriots won all those Super Bowls, and it's like over how many years? They weren't winning 5 in a row.
Since the AFL NFL merger, we haven't seen one.
Yeah.
And I mean, that encapsulates the Pittsburgh Steelers,
your angel Tom Brady,
the 49ers of the 80s, the 90s with the Dallas Cowboys,
the triplets
2000s with Tom Brady and the New England Patriots, where they rack up 6 rings, but they couldn't do it 3 in a row. Like, it's incredibly difficult to do. And we have a Chiefs team right now that they're on the cusp of it. And it's almost as if, like, there is a little bit of Chiefs fatigue. And we went through this, like, there was Patriots fatigue too, right? Like, when a team wins and they are dominant and people are like, we don't really want to talk about it. But when people did talk about the New England Patriots was when history was on the line. And it just feels like this Chiefs team is not getting enough credit. And I think it's because we see the flaws that they do have, right?
Yeah, I think it's because the big part of it is it's not the same old explosive Chiefs. They weren't putting opponents away. They were, holding on to the rope until the final 5 minutes, and then the greatness of Patrick Mahomes or the defense making a play was enough to seal a game. It wasn't them dictating terms at any point in time other than the final couple minutes. You could say, if you're a Chiefs fan, well, that's all that matters.
Dude,
It's
that is a damn good team.
It
though.
is, but they also made a human sacrifice to get the things go their way
Sure.
that went their way. Like, you can't be like, oh, this is just greatness. No. The amount of luck involved in all of those one-score games is astronomical.
Yep.
Absolutely. It doesn't mean they're not great, but the things that had to go their way to set themselves like, well, that's just masterful coaching. No, Andy Reid, great coach, all-timer. You can't do that. You can't. It's there is a lot of luck, but you can also do a lot to make your own luck by being thoroughly prepared, by executing down the stretch, by having greatness at quarterback, all those things. Like the PFF this season has them rated as the second rated offense or second rated defense in the 11th rated offense. And you look at their expected, their EPA per run and per pass. They're a negative on the run and slightly above average on the pass. You look at like all of their grades and all of the breakouts. There's nothing exceptional about them on the offensive end other than Patrick Mahomes in final drives and their defense.
Yeah.
And again, what works well in the NFL playoffs?
Defense.
Having defense and having a quarterback. Now, you want to be able to run the ball, but that is not something the Chiefs have been able to do that effectively this year, or as effectively as they have been in the past. But when you've got a defense you can rely on, you've got Spags who's been there and might be the most decorated assistant coach of all time, and you've got Andy Reid who's been there, and you've got Mahomes, and you've got Kelsey, and you figure it out everywhere else, then yeah, you can put your faith and your trust in that organization and work your way from there.
You know, Patrick Mahomes can tie Joe Montana for playoff victories. I think wins and being a starting quarterback is largely a stupid number.
It is, but it's not nothing.
In playoff games, I think it really does matter because the top three are Tom Brady, Joe Montana, and Patrick Mahomes.
It's pretty indicative.
And Patrick Mahomes is about to tie Joe Montana for the second most of all time. With 16, he still has got, currently has 20 more to catch Tom Brady. Think of that.
Yeah, he does have the addition of the extra game. Now, I don't think the Chiefs have played in many of the wild cards, though.
No. Speaking of the three-peat, do you know how many times we've seen a three-peat in the Big Four? So NFL, NBA, MLB, hockey?
Yankees, Red Wings. I'm trying to think who else did it off the top of my
Well,
head.
they're all-time
Celtics.
numbers.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to think. Well, I know, but I'm
numbers.
trying to think of how many teams have actually done it. So Yankees, Red Wings, Celtics are the three that I'm almost certain have. Beyond that, and Bulls. So I guess I'll double it and cut it a little bit. I'll go 7.
No, 14 times it's been done.
14.
A
Okay.
three-peat. But if you're talking just franchises to do it, in the NBA, there has been 3 different franchises to do it. You missed the most recent one in any sport, by the way.
Who?
Lakers.
Oh, yeah, duh.
Lakers are the most recent three-peat in any professional sport, 2000 to 2002.
Yeah, good God.
Yeah.
Because they revived the Pat Riley three-peat trademark.
Yeah.
Well, I think mainly just, Blazer fans wanted to forget about that one.
But yeah, no, I just totally bombed that one out of my
There
head.
have only been 8 franchises across the Big Four to ever do it.
And a lot of those are older, right?
Well, if you want to go since, I don't know, we can go the last 30 years.
Okay.
You want to go the last 30
how
years?
many in the last 30 years?
3.
Yeah, I was saying
4. No, 3.
Okay.
3. You had the Lakers in 2000 to 2002, the 98 to 2000 New York Yankees, and then the Chicago Bulls 96 to 98.
Okay.
Yeah. That's how it's. So you're looking at once a decade.
So you're talking about the maybe the most dominant modern era basketball team.
And it has not happened in 22 years. Yeah. Well, now 23. It's 2025. Forget that.
Yeah, it's not a common
years.
occurrence, and that I think the proliferation, number one, leagues getting bigger, more punitive like the salary caps and structures and trying to stop this kind of stuff.
If you want to go just look at when most of these three-peats happened was before free agency was a thing.
60s, 70s.
Like if you
80s.
look at it, like the Lakers did it in Minneapolis, 52 to 54. The Celtics from 59 to 66.
Yeah, that one was the one in my
that
head.
was a pretty big one. The Maple Leafs 47 to 49. The Canadiens 56 to 60. The Leafs again 62 to 64. Canadiens 76 to 79. Major League Baseball, the Yankees did it in the 30s and in the 50s. The A's did it in the early 70s. Like,
oh God, that's right.
Yeah, it is something that it is so hard, and the leagues have said it wasn't good for our sports. So we try to cut down on it. Yet
you want parity
in the NFL right now. You're seeing what the Kansas City Chiefs are doing. Is they're on the doorstep of this history, and like everybody's like, whatever. That is mind-blowing to me. And I feel like it's people waiting for the other shoe to drop with this team. And it's not like I honestly believe this. I think that there's not enough conversation around it because it's not hot takey, right?
No.
People are there's nothing else to compare it to. And in our world of sports media, it's like we need to compare it to something else. No team in the NFL has ever done it.
Stands alone. And
in the since the AFL NFL merger.
Which,
and nobody's going to be like, oh, I mean, Mad Dog may do it, where he's like, they're not as good as Vince Lombardi's 67 Green Bay Packers.
That's
like,
a pretty
you're
good
not gonna see it. Thank you.
You've done it before.
He's never done it. That was my first try.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. You're not going to have him say that because everybody be like, dude, shut up. As if people don't say that enough right now. But I feel like they're not talking about it because there is no comparison. And I think that is all the more reason to appreciate what this team is doing. They're in a playoff game and they're 8.5-point favorites, for God's sakes.
Yeah. It's an interesting spot.
And people are waiting for the other shoe to drop.
No, I mean, everybody wants to be on the other side of, of that team falling on their face. And I mentioned it a bit ago, the amount of luck involved. And it was not meant as a negative.
No, every playoff team, every championship team has luck.
And nobody likes to admit that across sports. We were
No.
talking about it off air, like the amount of luck that goes into an NBA team getting somebody or a Patrick Mahomes turning into that guy. Like, you could say, well, we put ourselves in that position. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're just smarter than everybody else. No, the 14 other teams in front of you did something that allowed you to do something, and you took advantage of a particular situation. But it's simply this. It's often better to be lucky than good because everybody wants to assign a level of like, I did this. And because you want to be the masters of your own destiny. But in reality, brother, you're not. And that's across the board, not just the Chiefs, in general.
I think that what is missed in that conversation of like luck is involved is that it goes without saying that the other team that you're playing in that championship is also very well run.
Yes.
Very well coached, has star players. All of those other things are true. And that's where, I mean, just look at last year's Super Bowl, right? It comes down to like turnover luck, injury luck, all of those things. Guys dropping like flies and you're going, whoop. Well, this is going sideways in a hurry. Those things all matter. And the one thing that the Kansas City Chiefs have, though, is they are masterfully run. And look at the Niners. The Niners fell apart this year.
Because of injury luck.
Yeah, and they've been right there neck and neck with this team. But the coach is just a tick better. The quarterback has been miles better. And their weapons around and the way they built their team, dude, it's incredible. And Brent Veach, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, all those guys are to credit, but also a little bit of luck. Yeah. I'm excited for that game. I want to see what a week or 2 weeks off does for this Kansas City team, where it looks like, did you see that they're going to start Joe Thuney at left tackle? He's a guard. He's like an all-pro guard, and they're moving him to tackle because since DJ Humphries got hurt, they had to move him over, and Humphries is now cleared and ready to go. But Andy Reid's like, nope, we're going to stick with him at left tackle because he's operated the best out there. So there'll be interesting little side note to see with the Chiefs and this Houston Texans team. We'll dive in a little bit more into that game, but talk about teams of destiny. They're not going for a three-peat, but they are going for a playoff win at home. Detroit Lions taking on the Washington Commanders. Let's dive into that game a little bit. And also, Lions fans, this is what happens when your team is good. Danny and Dusty on the Fan. Detroit Lions hosted a playoff game this weekend, divisional round, taking on the Washington Commanders as the number 1 overall seed in the NFC. That's tomorrow night. I'm excited for this game because, you always used to hear players say playing in Detroit on Thanksgiving was always a downer because it was like an empty warehouse and there wasn't a whole lot of energy there because the Lions were so bad.
And you're also in Detroit in November.
Well, I heard it's beautiful there this time of year.
Oh, yeah, it's just an amazing place to be. It's a winter wonderland.
Very murdery.
Yeah. No, I mean, not just that, but it's
they've curbed that a little bit.
They've pushed that up a little bit, more towards Auburn Hills. Just saying. But even beyond that, like it's Detroit in the winter. Like,
yeah,
it's not a fun hang.
There's a little bit of consternation in that Lions fan base though because they're not used to this. They haven't lived this life in a while.
No, them playoff prices are going to hit like a truck.
They are a little bit perturbed there because you got some really expensive tickets going for the Lions game. So I want to check this right now because the ticket prices. There's a lot of fans going, wait a minute, what's going on here? And they're now realizing this is what happens when you are a really good team. Your ticket prices go through the roof. And I'm right now, if you want to get in the building, okay, at any price, the cheapest ticket to get in the door is $400. And that's considered an amazing deal. That is back of the end zone, section 345, upper deck, back row. In the end zone, $400. If you want to be in the lower bowl, the cheapest ticket that you can find is actually, it's not that bad, but it's end zone $504. If you want to get like on the sidelines, you're looking at $1,000.
It's scarcity. That's what the NFL does.
Yeah.
But the thing is you can probably attest to this too in a similar vein. Football games are more fun from your couch unless you've got a really good seat.
Yeah. I mean, the nosebleeds I think that's one of the things that you're going to see a lot of stadiums do is that the nosebleeds, they're not great to be in.
No,
because
you can't see anything.
Well, and if you're like in a 100,000 seat stadium and you're in the back end of it, you can't really feel the energy. If you're down lower, you can feel like you actually feel the noise in a loud environment. But there's some really bad tickets in some of these stadiums. Like when we go in like day before or we're there early before anybody else before, an Oregon game, like I'll go and I'll try to see some of the worst seats. Like Michigan actually wasn't that bad. I was stunned that they can fit as many people in that stadium as they do.
It doesn't look that big.
No, like there's a lot of seats. They don't have any with like seat backs, so it's all bench seating. And they just cram them in there.
Also that's not fun.
Yeah.
Michigan outdoors in the winter on a concrete bench. Like it's just like
unless you absolutely love your team though.
But even then.
If you absolutely love your team, that is awesome.
Well, here's the thing. Like part of it is it's the experience because it's your alma mater and it's like you're brought up doing this and this is what you do 6 times a year.
Yeah.
Like this is the thing you do.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're just going to a one-off football game, it's particularly outdoors, it's like unless you've got a good seat, it's not that fun.
No. It's not great.
It's really not. Like, don't get me wrong, I love football and I love going to football games. But if I'm going to go to a football game, I'm going to have a good seat or I'm going to be in a suite. I'm not doing the nasty stuff. It's not the whole like just being there experience, not worth it to me.
For big games even?
No. Especially because if it's a big game, I want to watch the game.
Well,
I don't want to watch it on the Jumbotron the whole time.
Well, don't.
But I'm saying if you're up high,
yeah.
You got binoculars up there.
Well, you just said I'm going in a suite.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
I would rather be in for a big game, be in the stadium because you can always record the game at home, right? And then go back and watch it if you want to. But if it's your team and it is like you are passionate about them, heck yeah, you want to be in that building. Like the World Series game that I went to with Officer Potter, back in 2017, Astros, Dodgers. It was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. Like, ever. In our seats, we weren't down low. We just wanted to be in the building, and it was like a college football Saturday for 4 hours and 9 innings of baseball, and it was, the energy was electric. Being there watching the game was just absolutely incredible. Did we miss some things? Yeah, we did, but especially when your team wins, you can go back and you can watch it and you can get all the details. If your team loses, you're like, I don't want to relive that.
No.
I'm not going to do that again. And you can just say, well, I'm going to wash my hands of it and throw it away. That was just awesome just to be there. Like, it was really cool. So, I mean, I think the magnitude of the game with what you said about, like, any regular season game, yeah, I'm with you, though. I wouldn't want to go and, like, if I'm at Kyle Field in the upper deck way up there.
Nope. I wouldn't want to go to, like, if the Raiders were in a Super Bowl and I had a chance to be in the upper deck, I wouldn't want to go.
Really?
No. I'd rather experience with friends and family and watch the game at home. Because, number one, it's a smattering of fans from, like, across the NFL.
Really?
You're so far up. I'm talking like the 300 or 500, whatever it is in the NFL, because it changes. Yeah. Like in Atlanta, I've seen the sight lines in Atlanta. Yeah. You're in that upper deck. It's
not good.
It's awful. And you're talking like 30,000 seats are up there.
Mm-hmm.
I want no part of that.
Really?
No.
Not if you you have a diehard buddy that you go with, or your dad or whatever. You're just like, we're Raiders fans. You wouldn't want to do that.
No, not up there. No.
Huh. I wonder if I'm in the. I wonder if I am in the.
It would. You know, we can pull this.
Yeah, let's pull this. Am I in the minority of I would want to be in the building for that moment?
Don't get me wrong. The in the building part of it's cool because, like, I've been in the building for Dame, like some of his most incredible plays of his career, NBA defining plays.
Yeah.
And it was
really. Did they define the NBA?
Well, no, I mean, like,
the Blazers promptly got bounced.
But I mean, like, in playoff history, like, they're going to live on in infamy as game winners. Like,
Blazers playoff history.
Well, in playoff history, like, there's only been 6 or 7 total playoff game winners, and like being in the building for those, and being in the building for Brandon Roy pulling up against Houston, like, but
huge for huge moments.
But I was also like in the 200 level, you know, what I mean, like I'm in media sections, like I've got a relatively good seat, and even then, when you're in the very top of Moda, it's bad, but it's not egregious. When you're in the very top of SoFi, it's like, ugh, you know. And I just, for me, that's not like, for me, it's just not worth it.
Well, here's where the last 2 texts on the Vancouver Ford text line, Danny is nuts, and 100% on the same page as Danny.
Yeah, I think that. See, I wonder how many people who are, and this isn't to say I'm right. I'm just wondering how many people who who are saying that I'm nuts have ever been to a game where they're in the, like.
Well, I have.
I know that.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm
so
saying.
I'm
like,
one. I'm calling you nuts right now.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm with you. But I wonder how many people have actually sat in, like, NFL nosebleeds, because NFL nosebleeds are different. Like, they are deep.
Yeah.
The binoculars are not like an accessory. They are a requirement.
But you're there.
Yes.
You're there.
I get it.
All right. Well, we didn't get to anything that we were going to talk about as far as that game goes and how it's going to play out.
Well,
we have good thing we have another hour and a half of this radio program.
Good thing we'll swing back to it after next, because next we have our worst day on the web. And look, companies do things for shock value. I don't care if this is shock value or not, but it's disgusting. I don't ever want to hear anything about this. The worst way you could possibly have soup in your mouth. But first, the Big Kahuna Sports Center.
What?
That's that Hawaiian burger joint.
This is a Football Friday edition of Danny and Dusty.
Brought to you by the Odyssey app.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by A&E Plumbing, Heating, and Air, serving Portland, Southwest Washington, and the Gorge. Online at aneheatingandcooling.com. It is hard to stop a train. First on The Fan, the NFL playoffs continue this weekend with the divisional round. Tomorrow, 1:30 kick on ABC and ESPN. The Chiefs, 8.5-point favorites, hosting the Texans. Then at 5 o'clock on Fox, the Commanders roll into Detroit as 8.5-point underdogs against the Lions. On Sunday at noon, NBC and Peacock, the Eagles, 6-point favorites, hosting the Rams. And the NFL weekend wraps up at 3:30 on CBS and Paramount Plus with the Bills 1.5-point home dogs to the Ravens. The long football weekend ends Monday evening with the College Football Playoff National Championship game from Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Number 8 Ohio State, number 7 Notre Dame for all the marbles. 4:30 kick on ESPN. The Buckeyes are 8.5-point favorites. The Trailblazers off today after getting whooped by the Clippers last night. They host the Rockets tomorrow night. Donovan Clingan, Matisse Thybulle, both out. Denny Avdia and Jeremy Grant are game-time decisions. The Blazers are 13-27, the 6th worst record in the league. 76ers center Joel Embiid will miss at least 7 to 10 days after an increase in swelling in his left knee following a Thursday workout. He has missed the last 6 games with a left foot sprain and has played in just 13 games so far this season. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Did you score a smart speaker over the holidays? Just ask it to play 1080 The Fan.
Looking for
Brought to you by the Odyssey app.
On 1080 The Fan. It's time for today's worst day on the web. With Danny and Dusty on Odyssey and 1080 The Fan.
Man, that sucks.
Well, in the tease of this, I said that I was about to say that it's the worst way that you could have soup, but I can think of a worse way. So the second worst way you could have soup, and definitely the worst way you could probably have it in your mouth. Progresso soup.
That makes me so uncomfortable.
How
when you
else
say
are you
that.
going to have soup?
Well,
I mean, that is just.
well,
ugh.
what if I took soup and made it into like soup cough drops?
I'm sorry, what?
Cough drops?
Oh.
They turned them into drops. Progresso has soup drops. Soup you can suck on.
No, man, no. So chicken noodle soup, cough drop.
But it's not like a cough. It's not like a cough drop. It's like you know those like strawberry candies that are wrapped in like the strawberry foil wrapper.
Yeah.
That, but chicken noodle soup.
So they're like hard shell on the outside, kind of soft on the inside.
Mhm.
No, how does this make it through the levels of a corporation to get to the point where they actually manufacture it?
I mean, this is the disruptor, marketing type stuff. I'm sure this is not a product they're going to carry for a long period of time.
Well, I'll tell you what, they're disrupting my appetite for what soup brand is this?
Progresso.
Progresso. Yep, don't want
In
that.
case you didn't know it, because everything has a month. January is National Soup Month.
Well, I mean, who didn't know that?
I mean, January is a good month for it. It's typically pretty cold.
They call it the drops or the ultimate cold and flu season comfort.
No.
They're available online right now, but they're sold out, but not for long. They'll be restocking them.
Who's buying this? And why? The best part about soup is when it's warm. Cold soup is terrible.
Yeah.
You get 20 individually wrapped soup drops per can, plus an actual can of Progresso Tradition chicken noodle soup. The cost is $2.49, plus you pay 99 cents for shipping. Huh.
Not worth it.
I kind of want
Not worth it. How much do you have to love soup for that?
I kind of want to do this and just put them in a bag of like Halls.
Oh, so you throw it like the Harry Potter, their
Bean
jelly
Boozled?
beans where some taste like boogers or whatever. Yeah, you could
I'm
roll
not.
that.
If I'm not mistaken, I actually have a bag of Bean Boozled beans in my bag,
Do you?
and I was waiting for the right time to bust it out.
Are they in your bean bag?
Mm. But-
What would be the right time? Like you just roll into a bank and they have their little Jelly Belly dish and you just go bloop and dip these right on in there.
Or just act like it's nothing and just
Yeah.
hey, you want some?
You want some of this candy
Yeah.
here?
I
Well,
thought
you
about,
blew your cover. Now I'm never taking
Yeah.
jelly beans from you because I love me some jelly beans.
and that was the thing.
I'm
is
probably
like,
going
do
to
I-
forget this conversation
I'm like,
in a
do
day,
I do
so
I
you'll
do
be
it here?
fine.
Oh, I know. I mean, the easy thing to do is just take a little tray and put them out.
Yeah, watch people's face just.
Oh, that's interesting. Like those are pretty good, and then get a because there's some good ones in there.
Yeah, they do.
But there's some dangerous ones in there too.
Yeah, yeah, like earwax.
Yeah, earwax is like, how do you even like? Is somebody tasting earwax? Like, yeah, no, you got the flavor right.
I mean, I've tasted my earwax before
No.
unintentionally. Not like I'm
How?
picking something out of my
How?
ear.
How do you
Like, that looks
unintentionally
good.
do that?
Yeah, it's sour. Yeah. Hope everybody enjoyed their lunch. Yeah, no. Like I had something in my
I
ear.
almost threw up.
Picked my ear, and then I think I ate something. Like I had like a chip. I was like, "What is that?" I figured it out. Yeah,
A little too much dip on your chip, huh?
dude, gross. It was gross,
Oh,
but I've done it.
oh God.
I've done it. It's not good. It's not good.
You know that
I
feeling
don't-
you get when your mouth waters and you're about to throw up? I'm on the edge of that right now.
0 out of 10. Do not recommend.
Oh man.
I'm not sitting there eating my earwax though. It's happened though. It's gross.
Yeah, some of these flavors, I'm just like, they just find somebody like those people that what do they call it? Is it pica? People eat the weird stuff.
No idea. I don't even know what that word is.
There's a
that,
disorder for like people who like eat
Oh, that's what it's
couch
called?
stuffing or eat boogers
Yeah,
or like
they're
It's just called weird.
oh yes,
My
but there's
Strange
actually,
Addiction.
yeah, but
on
there's also like
light
people
bulbs.
like eat like weird things or like it might even be like people who eat like people who eat like dry skin.
Ew.
Like, come on, like that's the worst thing about all these.
Like I know. Well, I'm like earwax, and I'm
Yeah.
like, ew, gross, dry skin.
Yeah.
It
No,
happened. It wasn't
the
it
dry
wasn't
skin
on
was the
purpose,
chip
Russ.
for the dip.
Yeah. Gross, dude. That is so bad. Back to these Progresso cough drops. Bad. Don't do that. That is. Do they have little bits of chicken in them and
God.
carrots?
Like freeze dried.
No.
I mean, they had to like boil it down into like a nothing but.
But
a stew.
again, here is where the question of why and how did this make it through the layers of Progresso to where they're like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and do this. Somebody came up with the idea. Somebody had to make it. Then they take it to, I don't know, I can't imagine. Well, actually, this is probably how it did as I'm explaining this. There probably isn't like a very big think tank at Progresso of how you are going to change the soup game, right? So anytime a new idea comes, they're like, well, look at that. That is different. It's a little bit different than just using a different type of pepper to put into this product.
Yeah.
So they went, we're going to cough drop it. And they're like, hey, we haven't changed the game here in 150 years. So maybe this is going to be it. It wasn't a good idea. It was literally the idea that was pitched to be different at Progresso. All right.
Vancouver Ford text line. Wasn't Danny supposed to try the Doritos flavored vodka? Thank you for the reminder. It's actually in stock now, and I will order a bottle in the commercial break.
Oh, I forgot about that.
It says the flavors are nacho cheese, corn tostada, umami with a hint of acidity.
Oh, look at that.
Anytime anybody says umami, like on a cooking show, I want to slap the taste out of their mouth.
Why?
That word, it's always said so.
Umami.
Yeah, well, no. It's never said fun. See, like if it did it like that, it'd be more fun. But it's always like, oh, it has a strong umami vibe to it. And I'm like, stop it. There's always like a level of like pretentiousness said behind umami.
Well, yeah.
And it's like, okay. It has that great herbaceous flavor.
Tastes a little different than ai papi.
Yeah, or the like matcha or rose water. I'm just like, okay. Things that
I don't know what any of those
like.
things taste like.
Well, things that people don't like for $1,000.
What is rose water?
It's like water that tastes like rose.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Why?
It tastes like tastes like
We don't
soap.
want that.
It's so funny. Like complete derailing here. Anytime you watch one of these cooking shows and they're like, "Yeah, no, we use pistachio and rose water," I'm like, "Oh, so you lost." Like I've never ever seen any contestant use like matcha, rose water, umami, like any of these other like, different flavors.
Yeah.
And win. It's like, yeah, no. There's another one that's it's like it tastes like dirt. I can never remember what it is, and it's like, actually, I think it is matcha, and like, yeah, it's an earthy flavor. I'm like, no, it tastes like dirt.
Tastes like dirt.
Dirt.
Yeah.
That's you added essence of dirt to your food.
There we go.
And never have I been like, you know what this food needs? Dirt.
This is getting you really angry.
Because people don't know how to win these shows. It's like you're getting sent home. What are you? I'm like, I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to use some rose water. I'm like, you're getting sent home.
Yeah, it's not going to be good. It's
like
going to end well.
It's like watching like any of those survival shows, and you see them like, I see the water right here, but I'm gonna move away from the water source to go find my food. I'm like, no, don't do that. The food comes to the water.
The reason why they do it though is because how many restaurants are like high-end restaurants, and you go to them and you're like, this food is not good. Like you're trying way too hard.
Yeah.
Way too hard.
It's like, I'm going to put a bump of a beluga caviar on top of this cake. And I'm like,
no,
it's
a
very,
cake, dude.
Yeah. Like, no, you don't need to mix the salty with sweet here, guys. The sweet was banging.
Yeah.
Like you don't
need to church it up.
Yeah.
Let's
the mango
just roll
puree
with it.
was working, buddy.
Yeah. Let's just roll with the goods.
You don't need to add the anchovy.
Yeah. And then they're like, well, your palate isn't. It's like, no, shut up. You like eating dirt.
Yeah. Sophisticated palate. I'm like, no. My palate just doesn't like crap.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Which again, Progresso soup can drops crap.
There we go.
If I ordered these, would you even try them?
No.
Rust?
Wouldn't even try it.
I would probably try one.
Okay.
I'll film you.
Just for the curiosity.
Seriously, I would love to put it in a Hall's cough drop bag and be like, here you go, guys.
See, I don't like cough drops to begin with.
Well, you're like, oh,
But
you're
it's
sick.
like-
I mean,
Or like a hard sucking on a hard candy.
The mentholyptus.
I don't like. Well, no, it's like any hard candy. I'm not a big fan of hard candies.
Really?
Yeah, just like ones that you just put in your mouth and suck on them. I don't like.
Not a big jawbreaker guy.
Nope.
I left it clean enough. I think.
We'll see.
I think
I'll check it out.
I think there's just enough of a break in there.
Yep.
So, all right, but that's where we sit on things that
Progresso cough drops.
The second worst way for you to take soup.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, you know what? Next clam chowder.
God, solidified seafood. That's God. I don't know. We're need a palate cleanser. The NCAA continues to get its butt kicked, and the professionalization of college football. We'll get to that here more on Danny. That's Danny the Fan.
The NFL
Before we start talking about the soup can drops, we were talking about the Detroit Lions and the Washington Commanders.
That's why.
And we got derailed by the conversation about where you would like to watch a big game, which we have a poll up on at Danny and Dusty on Twitter. And you can check it out there. Lions Commanders, what do you like about this game? What do you not like about this game? Do the Commanders present any kind of real threat?
They do. I mean, in all honesty, they do present a bit of a threat. But I think what I look at, because of offensively, the growth that you've seen, and what have they come accustomed to doing, and what do they do really well? They drag teams into deep water, and they say, "Are you going to survive? Are you going to swim in this?" The biggest concern in this game for Washington, though, is just the sheer number of points that they give up to good teams and playoff teams, right? Even in the games that they've won. Philly, they gave up 33 points. They gave up 26 points to Philly again. The Ravens, they give up 30 spot to the Ravens. They won a tight game against a team that missed the playoffs, but we know is good offensively in Cincinnati. Beginning of the year, that game against Tampa, they gave up 37. And albeit they did give up only 23 to a Tampa team at home, far different Tampa team than what we saw at the very beginning of the year from a weapons standpoint. But with Detroit, I look at that and say, with a week off, they are going to be ready to roll. The one thing that kind of gives me concern, too, if you're Detroit, we've seen this before, the offensive and defensive coordinators that interview for multiple jobs in that bye week and the week leading up, like Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn are hot names, and their eye has been kind of everywhere because the interviews have been, now, albeit 3 hours Zoom interviews, and they're not going to these locations
but it's still,
this week.
You're prepping.
Yeah.
You're not going in with, you're going to have, okay, this is my offensive philosophy. This is my defensive philosophy. These are the guys who I'd like to hire. Here's the things that I'd like to do. Remember Bill Belichick's manifesto to North Carolina.
And you have a book, right? And you have a format, but you do spend a little bit of time on, tailoring it to each particular team. Most of it is the same for every team, except for you tailor it a little bit for each team, right? And you do that, in that bye week where you're still self-scouting. But the thing is, even at the 3-hour interview this week, these coaches, at this time of the year, quite literally the only thing that they focus on is playoff football, right? And there's 3 hours out of the day where if it's just the interview and you're not including the prep time that you're talking about, which got to happen somewhere, that there's always the distraction thing, right? Come playoff time. Not to say that Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn are going to call bad game because they interviewed for jobs,
but it's always something it's not necessarily front of mind, but it's there because they all tell family members it's playoff time.
Yeah.
This is you go in the bunker basically, and it's a different mentality.
And it's not like it won't dictate the outcome of the game, but you have a team that drags you into deep water and all that kind of stuff. I don't like distractions. That's basically what I'm saying. I don't think that dictates the outcome of the game. I think more so just stylistically the way that the Commanders like to play. But injuries on the defensive side can keep this close for Washington. But we talked about this yesterday. The Lions defense, since week 11, has been the number 2 defense in pass rush rate with only bringing 4, and number 1 when they bring more than 4. They've had injuries all over, and they've gotten better. But if you get into a shootout, that kind of it kind of worries me a little bit because we've seen how good Jared Goff can be in those moments. But the Lions team's 15-2, and there's a reason why. They're really damn good. They're really well coached, and their offense is absolutely ripping. And they're getting healthier. Sonic and Knuckles are back. Let's go.
The interesting thing here is as it pertains to the Commanders and their ability to be an upset team. We talked about Jaden Daniels and how good he has been as a rookie, one of the best rookies we've literally ever seen in the position.
That fourth quarter, he was nuts.
His big-time throw percentage is one of the highest in the NFL. His turnover-worthy play percentage is one of the lowest.
Yeah.
That's not a thing that happens for rookies. You don't usually get the great while also taking care of the ball. Usually get the great, and the turnover-worthy throws are also pretty damn high too. And you're like, you're getting that's the sacrifice. That's the trade-off. or you get a guy who's risk averse and they take care of the ball. You're getting both ends of this.
That
And
final drive against Tampa
was incredible,
where he had just three passes in a row, just boom, boom, boom,
and kept it alive with his legs.
He is really stinking good right now.
So if you're looking for like the one thing that if you're looking for, like it's very simple. It's Jaden Daniels, because the one Achilles heel of the Detroit Lions in their defensive metrics and all of the things that go along with it is mobile quarterbacks have hurt them.
Yeah.
Because they are so aggressive. Once you break that contain, there's a lot of room to go.
Since 2010, rookie quarterbacks in the divisional round, 1-4. 1-4.
Who's the one?
I don't know. Well, Jaden Daniels.
Oh yeah, he last week.
Mark Sanchez in 2009, Joe Flacco in 2008 are the ones that have multiple road wins as a rookie in the playoffs.
Wow. God, Mark Sanchez.
Yeah. Well, no, that wasn't in the divisional round last week. That was a wild card round.
Oh yeah,
last
so it
week.
wouldn't count.
It doesn't say here. It just says only Mark Sanchez 2009 and Joe Flacco. 2009 would be the 2010 playoffs.
Okay.
So maybe that's it.
There you go.
All right.
All right, come up next. You want to go Rams?
Sanchez,
You want to go Rams
really?
Eagles, or you want to go Baltimore Buffalo?
Baltimore Buffalo.
right.
That game to me has everything.
It has all the juice. All right, let's talk Bills Ravens and what should be and could be the best game of the playoffs here in hour number 3 on Danny and Dusty tonight. The Fan.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Jeff Rust with your Sports Center update. First on the Fan, the NFL playoffs continue this weekend with the divisional round. Tomorrow, 1:30 kick on ABC and ESPN. The Chiefs, 8.5-point favorites, hosting the Texans. At 5 o'clock on Fox, the Commanders roll into Detroit, 8.5-point underdogs against the Lions. And then on Sunday at noon on NBC and Peacock, the Eagles, 6-point favorites, hosting the Rams. And the NFL weekend wraps up at 3:30 on CBS and Paramount Plus with the Bills, 1.5-point home dogs to the Ravens. The long football weekend ends Monday with the College Football Playoff National Championship game coming to you from Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Number 8, Ohio State. Number 7, Notre Dame for all the marbles. 4:30 kick on ESPN. The Buckeyes are 8.5-point favorites. Blazers are off today after getting throttled by the Clippers last night. They host the Rockets tomorrow night. Donovan Clingan and Matisse Thybulle are out. Denny Avdia and Jeremy Grant are game-time decisions. The Blazers are 13-27, the 6th worst record in the league. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Did you score a smart speaker over the holidays? Just ask it to play 1080 The Fan. It's Football Friday on The Fan.
Block somebody!
This is a Football Friday edition of Danny and Dusty.
Brought to you by the Odyssey app. Download the Odyssey app, follow 1080 The Fan, and enable push notifications to get the latest on the Ducks, Beavers, Blazers, and more.
Football Friday with Danny and Dusty on 1080.
Take the fight to them.
The Fan.
At number 3 here on Danny and Dusty on a Friday afternoon, whether you're listening on 1080 AM, watching along on youtube.com/1080 AM The Fan, or twitch.tv/1080 AM The Fan. We appreciate you, love you. Thank you for hanging out with us on this wonderful, wonderful day. It is indeed a Football Friday. We're going to keep that football going with what could potentially be, the best playoff matchup of the postseason, featuring the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, buddy.
In the freezing, oh my God, cold of Buffalo.
You see, it's dumping snow in western New York right now.
Oh, is it doing that thing again?
It's dumping snow.
So it's going to turn
What do
into
they call
ice?
it? The lake effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. There, it's supposed to like die down. I don't know. I'm not a Buffalo weatherman.
I'll tell you right now,
Mhm.
if it doesn't warm up, it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
That's true. Facts right there.
It was an interesting phenomenon when I was stationed in North Dakota. Doesn't snow that much. It's just that when it does, it doesn't go anywhere because it's negative for 3 months.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what's going to be happening in Buffalo. What was it, -9?
-6.
-6?
-6 with the wind chills.
Yeah, buddy, that snow ain't going anywhere.
Yep.
All those heating coils in the field will clear the field, but ain't nobody getting to that game.
Oh, I think you're underestimating
Us
the
Rich
will of Buffalo.
They made it in
people.
that nasty snowstorm.
They're
going to
go and dig that stadium out if they need to. They've done it before.
Was that 2 years ago they did that?
Last year they
Was that
did.
last year?
I think
It all blends together.
I think it's a rite of passage where they just go and do it no matter what.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Yeah. I'm excited for this game though. I mean, you remember the game 4 years ago and how that one ended? Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson seemed like he was driving his team down for a game-tying score, and he threw a 101-yard pick six. Whoops. Not gonna work in the playoffs. But that game, it lived up to it, and that was at a time where, remember, Lamar Jackson had just kind of bucked that trend of, I can't win in the playoffs. He was 0-2 before that, but he beat Tennessee, and then they go to Buffalo in the divisional round, and that's the way that it ended, and it was just kind of like, that came down with a big kerplunk. Well, you're starting to see Lamar Jackson is bucking a lot of the labels that have gone against him. Whether it was his ability to throw the ball, he's got nothing but more efficient, and just being like a one-trick pony that can run the ball first and not be able to push the ball down the field. His own head coach said his biggest criticism of Lamar Jackson was his accuracy downfield. He has fixed these things, but this is a different animal, and you're coming off a win where you steamrolled divisional rival in Pittsburgh in the wild card round, and you were able to do it without Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers is now doubtful for Sunday's game.
Mm-hmm.
That is going to be a tough hill to climb.
It is an improvement.
It's an improvement,
but unlikely.
Doubtful means that you're less than 50%.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at it, questionable is 50-50.
Questionable is basically 25%.
Game
or doubtful, I mean.
Doubtful is 25, and then game time decision is 75% to play. That's the way you should look at these things, right? Doubtful is not good, especially with a knee injury. Even if he does play, you're not getting Zay Flowers, which the most useful asset that he has is he's the guy that can keep a defense honest against you.
Doubtful means we're going to give him the Toradol shot and see what happens.
But
even then, he's not going to be...
Not with a knee injury. Yeah. Because you could tear that thing up and then you're really screwed.
It's what we saw with Christian Watson with the Packers. They knew what the deal was, and non-contact, and then he went...
Yeah, they knew it was... Yeah, with him, it was like, it's already hurt. I mean, just finish it off.
It's the same situation kind of a deal. Like
don't do that.
No, and it's like, can you do more damage to it? Yes. Yes, you can. So it's interesting, though. You look at all the PFF grades, and then again, it's objective because it's all individually graded, and it goes through their machine learning and all the other things and scores across it. But this is about as even a game as exists.
Yeah, and this is why we should all be excited for this matchup. I mean, you have two great quarterbacks. You have two teams that are trying to buck narratives of getting over the hump. And really for Buffalo, I think that it's to a lesser extent than Baltimore, because with Baltimore, it's like you need to get to that AFC Championship game, right? You need to get a couple of wins with Lamar Jackson. You've got that running back. You've got the workhorse where you could take this show on the road in cold weather and feel comfortable with having a run game that's going to be more than just Lamar Jackson trying to create or designing runs so Lamar Jackson can get to the edge and beat a team. You have a workhorse bell cow running back, and now your defense has really come around the last handful of weeks of the season. Last month of the season, they went from being a team that you were going, dude, the defense in Baltimore is what's going to hurt them, to no, they figured it out on that side of the ball.
They are allowing the second worst QBR in the league through the first 10 weeks of the season, 31st.
Well, moving Kyle Hamilton back to free safety has helped.
They are, since week 11, they are number one.
They've been awesome.
I mean, that's such a staggering change.
Yep. And look, you have two MVPs. These guys have played outstanding all season long, and it's like something's got to give, right? Is Josh Allen going to be able to, with his cast of, I mean, not great but really good wide receivers?
It's not the Island of Misfit Toys.
No, but
it's like it's not.
It's the good, not great.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're not forcing the ball to anybody. You're letting the kind of play dictate it, but you need somebody to break something open.
He is so much better with a receiver room like this, though, than he was with forced to feed a diva receiver. Like Josh Allen has come into his own. He's been playing really damn well. Lamar Jackson has been playing better all season long. Like Lamar Jackson might not win the MVP because he's won a couple.
Not only that, he's got Derrick Henry, which is
that helps. But his season has been just more efficient. Like he's grown and shown that he's taken strides and moving forward. I can't wait to see this matchup. I think the Zay Flowers injury is big, though. In this game, it's going to be much more of a factor than it was last week against Pittsburgh, because you need somebody that can keep him honest, even if it's cold, and even if you're not going to be pushing the ball down the field. You need him because it takes a set of eyes off of the run game, the +1 run game, right? The reason why the +1 run game is so effective when you have Zay Flowers on the field is because two have to go with him deep, and then you have to have multiple eyes on Derrick Henry. That opens up a lot for Lamar Jackson. And when you have one more set of eyes to be in that backfield and have the ability to kind of condense the field. Look, Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews had awesome games against Pittsburgh, and they're going to have awesome games again, because that's where you're going to be able to feed them, because eyes will need to be on Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson. Right,
and no
doubt,
and the likelihood of the ability to be able to push the ball down the field that far isn't going to be great in that weather.
But when you have eyes committed to your running back and your quarterback to run, the soft spot is in that linebacking core, and it's that underneath and intermediate game. And they had two really good games against Pittsburgh. They're gonna have to string it together, because this Buffalo team's really stinking good. I mean, we think of what the regular season came down to. Right? That's a 13-4 team that the final week of the season, they went the same route, and they were like, whatever. They lost to the Patriots and kind of mailed it in. They punted from the 35-yard line going in so their punter could get a bonus. Like, that's how they treated the game against the Patriots at the end of the year.
It was not something they cared about.
Not one bit. That is a 14-3 team.
They're really good.
Damn good. Dude.
Really good.
I can't wait for it though, because you have good on good, strong on strong. It's going to be an awesome game.
All right, coming up next, we have one last game to preview. The Los Angeles Rams traveling to the Philadelphia Eagles for what I'm sure will be another fantastic weather game. Coming up next here on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. Last game of the divisional round playoffs features the Los Angeles Rams and the Philadelphia Eagles playing in Philadelphia.
Philly.
And it's a game that it probably is going to get the... Do you think this is the game that gets the least amount of oomph to it, or is it Chiefs-Texans?
Well, I mean, you got the Chiefs being number 1 overall seed, going for the three-peat. Is Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense going to fix their ills that have kind of plagued them? And yes, they will, because Travis Kelce will get the ball.
Is this the last hurrah for Kelce? I almost feel like it is.
Boy, you're kind of getting that sense and that feeling of where, like, after this year, there's nothing else that he would need to prove. And that would be fascinating to see kind of where they go.
Brother, he will be 36 in October.
And he's wildly productive, man. And he and his brother's podcast does really well. And he'll be a star.
Potential wife.
Yeah.
Financially set.
And if he loses, man, T Swift may dump him. She doesn't deal with losers.
That's right.
Swifties, I don't mean that. Yeah. That was a
joke.
Was
Dusty Hero.
I know you're going to come at me for that. I was joking. It was a joke. I'm sorry.
Not me.
I already apologize.
This game features the Eagles and the Rams. The Eagles have, according to PFF, the number 1 ranked defense. However, the 16th ranked offense.
Really?
Yes.
And what is dragging them down in PFF?
I think a lot of it has to do with their explosive plays. Their big-time throws from Jalen Hurts is basically half of Matthew Stafford's, while his turnover-worthy plays are quite high.
Yeah.
Their EPA per run, while positive, is actually not that overwhelming, despite featuring the second-best running back in the NFL.
Now, that is going to be the interesting part of this game, is the wear down that can happen. I think anytime you have a warm weather team going to somewhere that's going to be cold, watch out. It's going to be really stinking cold. It's going to be cold for the Philly guys in Philadelphia.
Yeah. No,
the LA guys, there's nothing you can do.
There's no prep for this
to simulate how cold it's going to be.
We talk about this with like the SEC team traveling north of the Mason-Dixon line, except this is worse because it's going to be brutally cold.
And I still can't get out of my mind the level of physicality the first time these two teams played. Now, the Rams have gotten a lot better, and I think like that's something that we don't acknowledge enough is like, hey, by the way, teams can get a hell of a lot better over the course of the season. That loss that they had where Philly imposed their will, they ran the ball down their throat, it led to 5 straight wins that vaulted this Rams team to the NFC West divisional title and really a playoff win against Minnesota too. They've played like a different team. Now they've gotten healthier, but I think on the defensive side of the ball, all of those young pieces that they've drafted really well and developed, they've really started to pop and come into their own. But you just can't get out of your mind 45 carries for 314 yards.
Yeesh.
Saquon Barkley averaged a first down every time he touched the ball almost. 9.8 yards per carry, and he got the ball 26 times the first time these two teams played. I cannot get that out of my brain. And if you're going to add Jalen Hurts, Jalen Hurts is coming off of a concussion that held him out. That dude, for the woes that he had throwing the football in that game against Green Bay, he ran the ball like a damn battering ram, and he only did it 6 times, but he would look like a different kind of player. And that, to me, is the run game heating up for Philly in a cold weather game against a team that's not used to being in it. That's why I like Philly to cover, too. Like, win and cover. Because you could get into a situation where you see this Rams team go, no, man, this isn't our day. And it's not going to be our day.
I went against the conventional wisdom in my brain, my heart, and everything in me. And I took the Rams simply just because the LA Fires and the motivational stuff and the coming together, the culture, McVay, and the infighting within the Eagles that has permeated that team all season.
But if you want to talk about things going sideways, if LA jumps on them early, And you could see that just go A.J. Brown throwing a fit, Jalen Hurts getting pouty. Like, yes, you can see that, because this is the other thing with Philly is that, like, sometimes their play calling is like, dude, when things aren't going right, do what you do best. Give the ball to number 26 and let him snatch some souls. Let your offensive line run the damn ball,
Let Jordan
and
Mailata
everything's going to be
kill
fine.
people.
And they get into this weird, quirky, nope, we got to throw it now. It's like, it's a 60-minute game. You got time.
Yeah.
Don't panic. There is panic in Philly, sure.
Is that a Sirianni thing, or is that a Kellen Moore thing, or is it both?
It's culture.
Yeah.
Like, I think it is. It's like
not being on 100% on the same page.
Yeah, you look at Sirianni, you're like, that dude's not stable.
Yeah.
And Nick Sirianni is a damn good coach. Like,
weird dude. It's kind of funny.
Really quirky, weird.
Sirianni and Campbell both get hired, and we make fun of both of them.
Their press conferences were wild.
Both press conferences were unhinged.
It was Nick Sirianni was Will Arnett in The Office when he's like, I got a plan.
Yeah.
Like, if I tell you the plan, then you're going to know the plan.
Yeah.
Then the plan doesn't work because it's not my plan anymore. It's your plan. That was his press conference where he's like levers and mechanisms that we're going to pull.
Didn't he give the water the bamboo line in there too?
No, that was later. We're watering a flower.
That's what it was.
He was watering a flower.
It was the same season though, wasn't it?
They lost a game and he literally got flowers thrown at him walking out of the tunnel.
The TED Talk stuff, man, not great for the NFL.
No, but you know what? He wins a lot of football games.
It works in like press conferences and board meetings and probably impressing owners. It doesn't work anywhere else.
No, but oddly enough, it can work in an NFL locker room if you get or a football locker room if you get the right type of guys. Like Nick Sirianni is the type of guy that he probably connects to a lot of guys because they remind him of his high school coach. Like he would never lose a high school football game ever. Because he would be X's and O's, and like some of the stuff he says is like, dude, that is you're a high school football coach, like the master motivator high school
Friday
coach.
Night Lights.
Yeah. But usually guys in the NFL are like, what? Who the hell is this guy?
In the NFL though, you get a little bit more of I don't want your life.
Yeah, but in Philly though, what makes him work is that for a city and a fan base of the Eagles that will throw any sort of talk out the window and just be like, F this guy, we're turning on him. They don't do that in that locker room. And they haven't. They can turn on each other in their relationships, but it's really weird that the biggest divisiveness that we've heard coming out of there is not with Nick Sirianni and his defense or his offensive line or anybody else. It's with his quarterback, and he and his quarterback kind of butting heads because Jalen Hurts is militaristic and old school and not this rah-rah guy. And that's been the interesting part about it. But as long as you got Saquon Barkley, and if they feed Saquon Barkley, that's going to be a tough hill to climb for LA.
I mean, if they can sit there and keep things moving in the cold with Saquon alone, you don't have to get deep in the bag, and you can keep Stafford and that offense off the field, and you can neutralize an aggressive Rams defense. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be a fun game, but it's one of those ones you can salt it away and move on to the next, which is what the playoffs are about.
Dude, that secondary in LA, though, I like them. They've got some old heads back there. They got Cameron Curl, who's the young buck back there. Kitchens also is like, he's a baby. He's like 22 years old. But they have like this mix of old heads and young guys that in that secondary, they play hair on fire for LA. Like that, you want to talk about why you get 9 sacks. It isn't just Sam Darnold seeing ghosts. Like it was.
No, they got after him.
The corners, the safeties, there was largely very few windows to throw in. Missed some big ones, Sam. And that's where you were seeing ghosts. But they do a phenomenal job in the back end too. I really was impressed with the Rams in that wild card game against the Vikings.
All right, coming up next, it is Friday. It is 2:30-ish, which means it's time for Jeff Russ. And here's the big canoe himself with the Sports On Update.
You mind if I have some of your tasty beverage to wash this down?
This is a Football Friday edition of Danny and Dusty.
Brought to you by the Odyssey app.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
If you've been arrested for DUI, you need a team of attorneys into whom you can place your trust. Call Reynolds Defense Firm today online at reynoldsdefensefirm.com. First on the Fan, the NFL playoffs continue this weekend with the divisional round. Tomorrow for a 1:30 kick on ABC and ESPN, the Chiefs are 8.5-point favorites hosting the Texans at 5 o'clock on Fox. The Commanders rolling into Detroit as 8.5-point underdogs against the Lions. Then on Sunday at noon on NBC and Peacock, the Eagles 6-point favorites hosting the Rams. And the NFL weekend wraps up at 3:30 on CBS and Paramount Plus with the Bills as 1.5-point home dogs to the Ravens. Monday evening sees the College Football Playoff National Championship game from Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Number 8 Ohio State, number 7 Notre Dame for all of the marbles. 4:30 kick on ESPN. The Buckeyes are 8.5-point favorites. The Blazers are off today after getting whooped by the Clippers last night. They host the Rockets tomorrow night. Donovan Clingan, Matisse Thybulle are out. Denny Avdia, Jeremy Grant are game-time decisions. The Blazers are 13-27, the sixth worst team in the league. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The inside story on the Blazers, Ducks, and Beavers. Danny and Dusty, weekdays noon to 3 on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
It's Football Friday. It's 2:30-ish. Which means it's time for Jeff Russ. Oh! America's #1 and trending game show at all times. Jeff Russ, take us away.
All right. Well, I don't know if you guys are aware, the NFL divisional round gets started tomorrow afternoon. Yeah, really. The Texans visiting the Chiefs, one of 3 games this weekend where cold weather could play a factor. The Chiefs are 8.5-point favorites. Forecast calling for temperatures in the low 20s. Those Texans, of course, a dome team. Patrick Mahomes, 6-0 in his career in the divisional round, advancing in each of the last 6 seasons. So, here is your question. The Houston Texans, no way, Jose?
Or
Puncher's chance.
I'm going to go puncher's chance. It's overwhelmingly Chiefs, but I'm going to go puncher's chance because stuff can happen. It's the NFL.
I am going to disagree with that.
I disagree.
My skin is curling. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, I'm going to go no. I'm just going to no, because this is what Kansas City revs up for. This is what they were built for. I do love C.J. Stroud, his future. I love what they've done, especially D'Amico Ryans has got his defense just ready to play. But the Chiefs don't look at the regular season like everybody else does. Case in point, they were 15-1 and entered the last week of the regular season. We're like, whatever. Okay, Denver's in. Welcome to the playoffs, guys. They are built to figure things out in their shortcomings over the course of regular season. I think this is going to be a team that has something to prove, and they will prove it in their first game. Now, when the road gets tougher, when you play Buffalo, when you play in a Super Bowl potentially, yeah, we can have these conversations again. I think this is just a team that's better than Houston, and this surely won't bite me. No. Never.
Definitely not.
Never. Yeah. Like I said yesterday, I think they win by – the hook is what got me. It's going to be like 8 or more is what I see this going with. I picked the Texans to cover. I think Kansas City's just better.
The Lions, 8.5-point favorites over the visiting Commies under the dome at Ford Field, so whether or not an issue here. Detroit with exactly 1 playoff win in the Super Bowl era before advancing to the NFC Championship game last season.
Okay.
That 1 win was in the 1991 playoffs. The Commanders in the postseason for the first time since the 2020 playoffs, with their win last week over the Buccaneers being their first playoff win since 2005. Now, should the Lions lose, it's part of the growing process.
Or
Panic button.
No panic. No panic. I mean, the hard part is that you're going to have to replace Ben Johnson. You're probably going to have to replace Aaron Glenn.
Which, that's going to be tough.
That is going to be tough. But guess what? Unlike a lot of these, like we talked about this with Matt Eberflus. The reason why he wasn't able to get a young, hot name for an offensive coordinator is because he was a lame duck coach.
Yeah.
When you have a guy like Dan Campbell, the brightest minds on both sides of the ball are going to be attracted to it because of the fact that he lets you do your thing.
And you have an abundance of talent.
And the talent is overwhelming in Detroit right now. And they're locking these guys up for the long term. So I wouldn't panic, but it would be a kick in the nuts. But again, how many injuries on the defensive side of the ball, especially?
Yeah, no,
it'd be understandable.
No, I'm with you on this one. I don't think it's a panic, and also the level of success for the Lions, it's a sliding scale.
I just would feel bad for the people of Detroit.
No, it would suck because all of these injuries mounting up would be the thing that did undo them.
Yeah. The murder mitten getting killed, that'd suck.
Sunday starts with the Rams at the Eagles, who are 6-point favorites. Temperatures around freezing, possibility of snow even, I believe. The Rams, of course, an indoor team. Philly looking to get back to the NFC Championship game for the second time in 3 years. They lost to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl in 2022. Meanwhile, the Rams looking to get back to return for the first time since 2021 when they beat the Bengals in the Super Bowl. For which team is this game bigger, the Rams
or
the Eagles?
Oh. I want to say Rams because you just don't know how much you have left with Matthew Stafford. But it feels like Philly's world could fall apart if they lose. But I'm going to say Rams just because you have an aging quarterback, and how many more hurrahs do you have in you?
I think you're right, but I'm going to go with the Eagles here because it is the holy hand grenade that's going to get tossed into that thing if they lose.
Yeah, I could see that.
Like it's
You're not wrong.
It's Philly. It's never. I mean, you're paying attention to what's going on with the Philadelphia 76ers right now. Like they don't handle these things well.
This is Family Feud. No bad answers here.
No.
That was a good answer.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Yep.
Good answer.
The NFL weekend wraps up with the game many think will determine the Super Bowl winner. The Ravens 1.5-point favorites in Buffalo against the Bills. Could have temperatures as low as the single digits. Both quarterbacks have yet to get over the hump and win a title. So, for whom is this game more important to their legacy? Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen?
Lamar. I think it is Lamar. AFC Championship game. You are the guy who should win the MVP this year. You finally have that running back. This one does mean more for Baltimore, I think, than it does to Buffalo. It means a lot to Buffalo, don't get me wrong, but when I look at this, I go, this is a year that Baltimore needs to get over a hump.
I'm going to go on the other side of that coin. I think Josh Allen should win the MVP, and I also think it's this Buffalo team. They just keep running up against it, and they have that history of the 4 straight Super Bowl losses. Whether it's fair to Josh Allen, this Buffalo Bills team, or not, it is something that the get over the hump and win it. This is just step one of doing that.
Yeah.
And that's where I ultimately fall on this. I don't think you're wrong. I just lean more towards the Bills.
Yeah. I think this was a great. Again, my reasoning, you're not wrong at all. I just look at everything Buffalo was up against at the beginning of this year. To look at that and be like, they ran into the Ravens in the divisional round. I get it. I could understand it. They don't have a dominant number 1 wide receiver. They're retooled their secondary. This was a retool year. Yeah, but I see it. They need to get over that hump eventually. They do.
Coming up on Monday, it's the college foosball playoff national championship game from Atlanta. Number 8 Ohio State, 8.5-point favorites over number 7 Notre Dame, 4:30 on ESPN. Should the Irish pull off the upset, which is more likely? Ryan Day loses his job, or Marcus Freeman moves on to the NFL.
There's not a third option for the world ends?
Damn.
I am struggling to find a way Notre Dame wins this game. This feels like this is going to be a colossal throttling.
I would agree. I don't know how Notre Dame scores. I mean, actually, I do. It's you just have one of those drives where you just wear them down, and you run the football, or Will Howard throws a pick six.
That's one drive. How about 4 more?
That's it right there.
Because this ain't going to be a 13-7 game.
Notre Dame's defense is really good. Both these defenses are outstanding.
Texas's defense is really good, and guess how many points Ohio State scored?
21 offensively.
But
they got their points up on the board.
Is the Texas defense better than Notre Dame?
Yes. And I don't know if Notre Dame at this point, like we talk about injury luck, dude, they've been beat up too, and I don't know if you can roll into a game and have enough dudes to stop in the back end of your defense. Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Buka. You're going to have to do it with a backup who's played outstanding football. But you need that top-end talent. I think Ohio State runs away with it.
See, now this is a game for me where I'm not a fan of either team. In fact, I kind of despise both of them. But going into it, I was kind of been pulling for Notre Dame just because I hate Ohio State that much more.
Oh, okay.
I think Lou Holtz this week has single-handedly made me change my mind.
Look at that. What a day for you.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's going out there saying, Ohio State's not used to winning close games, and I think Notre Dame's going to get this because we just have more heart. And just shut up, Lou. Come on, man. Just let sleeping dogs lie and just let them play the game.
Oh, but to answer your question, Marcus Freeman to the NFL.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm going the same way.
Cool. That's it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Ross. Every Friday afternoon at 2:30-ish. America's #1 game show. We can talk about a little bit of the college football, but there's also been some breaking news in the college football world that's actually pretty sizable. The transfer portal may just exist in theory. Danny Dusty, 1080 The Fan.
It's the
Some possible game-changing and landscape-changing move in the world of college football. Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports has an article up now that says, in a precedent-setting move that may spark landmark legal action among schools. This started because a Wisconsin defensive back named Xavier Lewis, who signed a revenue share deal at the University of Wisconsin, is transferring to Miami. That's not the part of this that's interesting. The University of Wisconsin refused to enter him into the portal, and he has still gone to Miami. And the NCAA has since provided Yahoo Sports with a statement that reads, the NCAA rules do not prevent a student athlete from enrolling and for unenrolling from an institution, enrolling in an institution, and competing immediately. What that means is the transfer portal is fake.
Yeah, well, that makes it even more hairy because of the fact that the football coaches, and look, they do need to have windows in this. You can't just have guys going it on a whim. What the portal is just a database so coaches know who's available and who's out there and where they are, right? You enter the portal so people can find you just as easily. And the guys do have entered the portal in the middle of the year. Like, we hear this all the time. Like, guys are going to enter the portal. You know, he's leaving the team and going to enter the portal before the portal's even open.
Yeah, Miller Moss did this at USC when they made the move to Miami.
So we know that guys can enter the portal wherever, whenever, but it's like now the NCAA is just saying crystal clear, yeah, we're not going to enforce any of these windows anymore, because the windows were to make it easier for the institutions to have a little bit of stability. Like, all this is going down, and the NCAA just keeps taking losses left and right.
This is them just getting out of the way immediately. That's what this is.
That's a bigger issue because, like, look, everybody, coaches say it, administrators say it, media personalities say it, fans say it. The NCAA has no teeth. They are finally acknowledging it, and this is a move to say to the coaches and administrators who are like, thumb their nose at the NCAA. Fine. You want us to be lawless? Let's go. We'll go ahead and we'll put it this way to you, because they're taking legal losses left and right. And if I actually applaud Charlie Baker and the NCAA for finally not fighting in the court system and just saying, yeah, we're going to take this loss anyways. We're not going to spend the money on it.
Yeah, because keep your money. You're going to lose. The interesting thing here is there's also nothing in here that says that a player couldn't just leave one school midseason and go to another school midseason.
Yeah.
If a school has a scholarship or has a spot open, let's say they go to 105. Let's say that a school's at 104.
Yeah.
And a guy just says, "No, I'm out," and just goes to a team midseason. There's nothing in this language that says otherwise.
Well, yeah, you can go, but you're not immediately eligible. Like, because you do have part of the NCAA as it is right now, you have to be enrolled in school.
Well, as I'm saying, let's say a semester ends and you get into a...
Yeah, but you can transfer whenever you want, as long as the school admit you.
Yes.
Like, you can't just go and say, this week I'm playing for Oregon, next week I'm playing for USC, the next week I'm playing for Washington. Like,
I'm saying if you go for one school, it's in a quarter system, as opposed to a semester, and you unenroll at Oregon and you go to enroll at Oregon State the next quarter, and that's that weekend. This is basically saying that's open for that.
Yeah, and
which is insane to think about.
That is something that's kind of been true, but we just have not.
Nobody's tested the boundaries.
And what the Wisconsin safety who's now committed to Miami, the big issue there is he signed an NIL deal, and he's like, I'm not giving them money back.
All depends on what the legal contract says.
Yeah, and
he's hired a lawyer, so
and he lawyered up, and they were like, "We're going to fight this, and we're going to be gone, and there's nothing you're going to be able to do." It turns out they can't.
Might be right
now. But the NCAA, they're having a wave of it, because there was today. Department of Justice is announced that they are monitoring the House settlement and saying the NCAA can't cap it at $20.5 million for the revenues that they're going to share with the players. You have no grounds to cap what people can earn
anywhere.
So there's a big hang up. Title IX is now involved in saying, well, that money that you're sharing better be equal, because they're calling it financial assistance, NIL, which is silly.
Yeah, they'll just change the wording on that.
And once the House settlement is complete, NIL is going to be a term of the past, and they're going to just be employees.
It's going to be pay for player employees.
And they're going to acknowledge it, so they can't get around things like Title IX. Because the idea here is that the name, image, and likeness, that does change based on your value to the institution. You know? Like, that's the whole point of it. And if you're in a non-revenue generating sport, like it's all based on generating revenue. Quite literally.
Billions,
billions of dollars. So, like, that is one that won't hold up. But that's the government saying this, not the NCAA.
Yeah, there's a difference.
Yeah, and that one won't hold up because it is wholly based on what revenue your name, image, and likeness generates, and that's not equal across all sports or genders. Women's basketball, yeah, there's a lot of NIL money there. Women's gymnastics, a ton of NIL there, but not all women's sports, and not equal to football.
Nowhere near football or basketball.
Star men's basketball players. Yeah,
not even close.
It's true.
One little news note that just came across: Miami's Jimmy Butler returning to the Miami Heat lineup tonight and is expected to start. This is we didn't talk about it today, but he did a sit down with Ramona Shelburne and basically mentioned that the reason he was pretty perturbed is not only because he didn't get his money, but because the Heat appear to be building around Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo and keeping him out of these things, and basically stringing him out over the last 2 years and not bringing in any additional help, which is exactly what's happened.
But it's also like Jimmy.
Well, I mean, he also
Jimmy being Jimmy. Right,
he also threw that team on his back and carried them to the NBA Finals without Tyler Hero.
Well, we also have anonymous sources coming from the Heat organization saying we don't want him back.
Yeah, but the player participation stuff is going to prohibit that. He's coming back and he's playing, ladies and gentlemen.
You know what, Miami? It couldn't happen to a better.
I am
fan base.
here for this tonight. I am going to tune into that game, Denver versus Miami.
It's going to be great. I can't. Denver, Miami tonight.
Oh yeah.
I wonder, like, and this would be normally a game where I'm like, does Jimmy Butler go unhinged on Russell Westbrook for doing something silly? But now I may say, Jimmy Butler may be a counter agent in helping.
Oh, double agent for sure. Yeah,
Russ and the Nuggets out.
I
That
mean,
would
look,
be fantastic.
he may or may not have not thrown a game, but participated at a lower level of competition before he got suspended. I don't know if it's going to go that way, but I'm very interested to see what happens tonight.
Yeah, well, that's not throwing a game. That's checking out. We've seen that locally.
Yeah, we've seen that.
We've seen that
plenty.
locally. Man, got a couple of them this weekend, huh?
And they'll be in Miami next week.
Oh, are you going to travel for that one?
Oh, no. I mean,
that would be one game that I think you probably should go to.
It'd be fun.
Yeah.
I'd be about that life. I would just, Odyssey, pay me.
All right, we have got a Isaac's in the studio.
Yeah.
We've
An
got
Odyssey station.
Monday off.
We do.
MLK Day. We will
Shocking, Isaac.
So we are missing our college football playoff national championship preview on Monday. We'll be back on Tuesday, though, with a recap of the national championship game, recap of divisional weekend, which is going to be absolutely awesome.
And back-to-back Blazers games this weekend.
And back-to-back Blazer games this weekend.
It's a sports-filled weekend.
I have a feeling that might get pushed to Wednesday.
We'll see.
I have a feeling with all the footballs that may get bumped down the docket.
We shall see.
Well, I mean, if Ant continues to go over, we're probably going to talk about that.
Yeah, it'll happen.
Yeah. All right, up next, you got 4 hours of power from their mouths to your ears. It's prime time with Isaac and Souk. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you Tuesday from noon to 3 right here on The Fan.
Bye. Soup you can suck on.
You just put in your mouth and suck on it.
I'm not doing the nasty stuff.
Looking